Starting a renovation project? Start right. Start here at H&L Rapid True Value for all your essentials at our 10 stores island-wide. The time by H&L Rapid True Value is
nationwide time 5 o'clock.
Crisp and refreshing. Room temperature or chilled. A Pure Water would drink. The temperature by Pure Water is
32 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 30 out west in Montego Bay.
From the Nationwide News Network, comprehensive, incisive, tough. This is Nationwide at 5.
Good afternoon, I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robianne Williams.
In nationwide news at this hour, Jamaica's unemployment rate has fallen to 4.2%.
Jamaicans for Justice calls for balance between constitutional rights and unexplained wealth orders.
The Chief Justice, Brian Sykes, has opposed a PSOJ proposal for merged weekend celebration of Emancipendence.
All of those are very specific dates that we should not lose sight of in the name of productivity.
20 Haitians who landed in Portland on Saturday have been sent back to their country.
22-year-old student charged with causing death by dangerous driving offered $3 million bail.
In news from the rest of the world, Cayman Airways adds evacuation flight as Milton heads to Florida.
Preparations intensifying as the powerful hurricane bears down on the Tampa Bay area.
In headline sports, champions Cavalier takes sole leadership of JPL with another commanding victory today.
And later in our broadcast, in the cover story at 5:35, Jamaicans for Justice is calling for an appropriate balance to be found between respecting constitutional rights and the need for the introduction of unexplained wealth orders. Its Executive Director, Michael Jackson, Attorney at Law John Clark will join us.
And at 5:45, Jamaica's first structured securitization transaction in international capital markets has earned the government almost $500 million. Financial analyst Dennis Chung will tell us more.
In public opinion at 6:26, we'll ask, do you agree with the PSOJ's proposal to shift Emancipation Day and Independence Day into an extended weekend holiday? Give us your comments by logging on to our Facebook page, Nationwide News Network, and by tweeting us at Nationwide Radio. You can also message us on WhatsApp at 876-285-5693 or leave your comments on Instagram at Nationwide90FM.
In the nation's business at 6:40, over 190,000 applications approved so far for reverse income tax credit. Chief Corporate Communications Officer for the Tax Administration Jamaica, TAJ, Maris Houghton, will give us an update.
At 7 in the United States, Hurricane Milton has strengthened into a dangerous Category 5 hurricane with landfall expected in Florida Wednesday afternoon. The Director of the Department of Emergency Management for the Miami-Dade County, Pete Gomez, will bring us the latest on the preparations for the storm. We'll have all these and more as we take you home on air on your mobile, Nationwide 90 FM, Nationwide Radio, JM.com, and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. This Monday afternoon, it's Monday, October 7, 2024.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
And now to the details. Jamaica's unemployment rate has fallen as at April compared to the initial rate recorded under the Statistical Institute of Jamaica Statin's new system. In its latest report, Statin revealed that the country's unemployment rate stood at 4.2% as at April 2024. That's down 1.2 percentage points from the 5.4% recorded up to January. Statin says in April 2024 there were 62,800 unemployed persons in the country. Most of those unemployed, 58.1%, were females. That's a rate of 5.3% compared to 3.3% for males. There were also 29,400 unemployed youth, persons between the ages of 15 and 24 years in April 2024. That's a rate of 14.8%. Of that number, 15,151 or 51.4% were males. Statin says across the country the unemployment rate was lowest in the Greater Kingston metropolitan area at 3.1%. The rates in rural areas and other urban centers were 4.9% and 4.8% respectively.
Jamaica's first structured securitization transaction in the international capital markets has earned the government almost $500 million. The announcement was made today by the Ministry of Finance. The transaction involved the securitization of the portion of the Norman Manley International Airport NMIA revenue that is due to the government. Norgay Banton reports.
The Ministry of Finance says the securitization of the Norman Manley International Airport NMIA revenue was achieved through the issue of a $480 million 12-year bond by Kingston Airport Revenue Finance Limited. The ministry says Kingston Airport Revenue Finance, also referred to as King Air, is a special purpose vehicle held in trust in the Cayman Islands whose actions are limited to the terms of its debt and which dissolves after it repays its debt. According to the Finance Ministry, the government grants King Air its rights to 52.33% of the revenue generated by NMIA in exchange for the $480 million that was raised through the bond issue. It referred to this arrangement as King Air Rev Share. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says the bond was oversubscribed.
The bond issuance was highly successful, with applications totaling $2.3 billion, representing an oversubscription of over 5 times of the $440 million initially sought. The offer was upsized to $480 million in response to this robust demand. The notes will bear a fixed coupon of 6.75% for 12 years and are rated BB by Standards & Poor's, 1 notch each above the sovereign rating for Jamaica.
Additionally, the notes are the sole obligation of the issuer, Kingston Airport Revenue Finance Limited.
The notes do not represent debt obligations of the government of Jamaica or any of its agencies. Kingston Airport Revenue Finance Limited will also annually distribute to the government of Jamaica any surplus it achieves above established benchmarks. Once the bond is repaid, the full amount of the 52.33% of NMIA revenue will return to the government of Jamaica.
Dr. Clark says the success of this bond demonstrates investors' appetite for Jamaican assets.
The government of Jamaica is very pleased with the demonstrated appetite for investing in Jamaican assets. The government looks forward to now being able to accelerate critical investments in domestic infrastructure while at the same time reducing the national debt burden, even in the context of the adverse travel advisory and hurricane-induced growth shock and the anticipated flat growth this year for the benefit of all Jamaicans.
Norgay Banton for Nationwide News.
Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice, JFJ, Michael Jackson, is calling for an appropriate balance to be found between respecting constitutional rights and the need for the introduction of unexplained wealth orders. The orders would permit law enforcement to seek a judicial declaration, allowing them to seize assets where an individual is unable to explain the source of their wealth.
Yes, constitutional rights must always be protected, but as we're so often reminded by various government ministers, these rights are not absolute, so we can't apply that restriction when it suits us. Yes? And I think it's important for people to understand that we don't even know what exactly the constitutional concerns are to date, because we have not gotten a document to say that this is something that the cabinet should really be looking at, to even have something to give feedback on. And that is the challenge.
The unexplained wealth orders are being considered as a means of combating corruption in the country. The mechanism has been implemented in developed countries such as the United Kingdom. The National Security Minister, Dr. Horace Chang, has indicated that constitutional hurdles may exist to implementing the orders as part of the country's anti-corruption framework. But Ms. Jackson says those concerns must be clearly communicated to allow stakeholders a chance to offer perspectives and find a balance.
The government can't say on one hand that it's committed to reducing corruption in this country, but when it suits the conversation, we're taking a step back and saying that the Constitution should be respected, which it should, but it should never be used as an excuse not to even table a document that those who are experts in constitutional law, human rights practitioners, and other civil society groups can look at and say, let us examine it. I think it's not good if we're sending a signal that we need to root out corruption in the country. Everything must be balanced. Constitutional rights, but so too must the implications of what corruption can be festered in society.
Mikel Jackson, the executive director of Jamaicans for Justice. She was speaking on the JFJ-produced radio show Let's Talk Justice on Monday.
Meanwhile, Ms. Jackson has accused Justice Minister Delroy Chuck of passing the blame for the poor state of the nation's courts. Ms. Jackson was responding to recent comments from the minister expressing disappointment at what he says was the poor maintenance of court facilities.
Any practicing attorney, anybody who goes to the courthouses can tell you that even attorneys, they talk about we have a right to question or talk to our attorneys in privacy. But you don't even have the facilities to facilitate a fundamental right like that. So I don't think the Ministry of Justice has been unaware of this. And again, respectfully to Minister Chuck, I believe that the response was a little bit of passing the buck, passing the blame on, without really saying that this is how we're going to be moving forward on this particular issue, because there's no way employees don't even have good bathroom facilities to use.
Minister Chuck says while his ministry provides the capital expenditure for rehabilitation, it is the Court Administration Division that's responsible for routine maintenance. There have been mounting criticisms from court clerks and attorneys about the ongoing deterioration in court infrastructure. Court clerks have flagged poor air quality, while attorneys have cited inadequate bathroom and meeting room facilities. Ms. Jackson says those who work in the island's courts deserve better.
We're talking about access to justice and realization of people's rights, but even those who are expected to administer justice, they are in poor working conditions. The government must do better.
Ms. Jackson, Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice.
There are some things in our nation's history that cannot carry a price tag. That's the word from the country's Chief Justice, Brian Sykes. Justice Sykes was reacting to the proposal from the private sector organization of Jamaica, the PSOJ, to shift Emancipation Day and Independence Day into a single extended weekend holiday to boost productivity and economic output. We have more in this report from Shalois Michael.
In its submission to the Ministry of Culture, the PSOJ explained that the current separation of the holidays often leads to extended periods of reduced productivity in the business community due to the proximity of the two dates. To address this, the private sector group proposed the creation of a single extended weekend holiday period, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. According to the PSOJ, the consolidation will ultimately contribute significantly to the country's economic output. But the proposal has been met with objections from several stakeholders, asserting that such a decision will diminish the historical significance of both days. The country's Chief Justice is also of that view. Speaking at the William Knibb Memorial Baptist Church in Trelawney on Sunday, Justice Sykes argued that the celebration of freedom should not come with a price tag.
August 1, 1834, at least for me, is not just about increased domestic travel of 8.9%, an indication of greater engagement with national tradition. It is not solely about an organized weekend-long celebration that could attract tourists to participate in cultural events, concerts, and festivals, thereby boosting revenue across various sectors. I would want to think that there are some things in our nation's history that really cannot carry a price tag, and freedom and celebration of freedom is one of them.
The Chief Justice sought to remind Jamaicans that the Emancipation Act was one of the first significant pieces of legislation that removed Black Africans from property to person. He pointed to his own family history as an example of how the act allowed his great-great-grandfather to acquire land and elevate his family.
Being Chief Justice today began in earnest on August 1, 1834. That enables my great-great-grandfather, Mr. Atkins, to acquire land in Westmoreland, where he grew his children with his wife. And so my mother's father, Thomas Atkins, he was sufficiently well placed that he was able to send 3 of his 4 children to Teachers College. Without freedom, it is difficult, if not impossible, to own property and begin the process of elevating oneself and family from being an ex-slave to a free person.
Justice Sykes is urging Jamaicans not to lose sight of the significance of Emancipation and Independence Day.
I would have thought that the emancipation of enslaved persons of African descent, which was, in our case, the antecedent to independence, would warrant more analysis than to be described as a mere 5 days, encapsulating, I put in that word, Jamaica's journey from abolition of slavery to the achievement of self-governance. It is not just about recognizing these public holidays that play a crucial role in celebrating national identity. All of those are very specific dates that we should not lose sight of in the name of productivity.
Shaloy Smichael for Nationwide News.
You're listening to the news on Nationwide at 5. We'll have more after these.
Value Drug Pharmacy offers curbside pickup and delivery of your branded and generic drugs. WhatsApp your prescription to 876-881-6695. The time by Value Drug Pharmacy is...
It's 16 minutes after 5.
Rentokil Initial offers air purification solutions with triple filtration and unique auto-sensing capabilities that neutralizes malodor and replaces it with clean air. Call Rentokil Initial at 926-4236 for more details.
The temperature by Rentokil is
32 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 30 out west in Montego Bay. Continuing the news, 10 people were killed in separate road crashes across the island over the weekend. 6 of the deceased were males. Vice Chairman of the National Road Safety Council, NRSC, Dr. Lucian Jones, says motorcyclists make up the bulk of those killed. He says the lack of helmets proved to be a fatal blow to the riders.
The challenge we have is that most of these motorcyclists are not wearing helmets, are not wearing approved helmets. Many of these young men use the adrenaline rush that they get from engaging in risky behavior as a source of great comfort for them, and they look forward to it. But whatever the reason, this is the number one problem we have on our roads. Young men who are dying because they are speeding and driving recklessly. Young men who are using alcohol and ganja while driving, and we have a difficulty enforcing the helmet wearing law, which the police are trying their best to cope with. We have to get on top of this problem. We cannot allow so many of our young men to be dying on our roads. This is why we have such a big problem with road safety in Jamaica. This is our number one problem, and we have to find a way to fix it.
According to the Public Safety and Traffic Enforcement Branch PSTEB, the weekend fatalities bring the number of road users killed since the start of the year to 288. Dr. Jones says measures are being taken to increase the wearing of helmets among motorcyclists.
We are down 10% compared to last year, but this kind of carnage on the roads is troubling. 5 of those who died were motorcyclists, and so far 95 motorcyclists have died on our roads. The National Road Safety Council has been on a drive to reduce the number of motorcyclists who are dying on our roads. We started a program in Westmoreland and St. Elizabeth, funded by initially a global charity, the FIA Foundation, and also funds from the Ministry of National Security. That funding has now dried up, and we are seeking funding to continue this program from another government agency. In addition, we have secured funding from the same global charity, the FIA Foundation, to fund the National Helmet Wearing Coalition, which is geared towards encouraging bikers to wear a helmet and an approved helmet.
Dr. Lucian Jones, Vice Chairman of the National Road Safety Council, NRSC.
World in a Minute is brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
The world in a minute.
Cayman Airways has added an evacuation flight scheduled for this evening, Monday, to help the government with evacuating Caymanian students studying in Tampa, Florida. The move comes as Hurricane Milton barrels towards the west coast of the Florida Peninsula. Milton, now a Category 5 hurricane, is expected to begin making landfall in Florida Tuesday night or early Wednesday morning. The Cayman Airways flight is also to evacuate Cayman residents visiting Tampa who wish to return home before the arrival of the dangerous hurricane. Milton developed rapidly in the Gulf of Mexico. The U.S. National Hurricane Center says it's packing winds of more than 150 miles per hour.
A powerful Category 5 hurricane, Milton, is expected to make landfall in the U.S. state of Florida on Wednesday. The National Hurricane Center says the massive cyclone continues to rapidly strengthen and is now packing sustained winds of 180 miles per hour with stronger gusts. CNN is reporting that hurricane warnings have been issued for parts of Florida, with impacts likely to start within 48 hours. Storm surge warnings have also been issued for parts of the coast.
World in a Minute was brought to you by ABC Electrical Sales. We make things as easy as ABC. Hose assembly and supply, equipping Jamaica for success.
And Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology, and integrity.
Recapping the top stories making nationwide news at this hour. Jamaica's unemployment rate has fallen to 4.2%.
Jamaicans for Justice calls for balance between constitutional rights and unexplained wealth orders.
The Chief Justice Brian Sykes has opposed the PSOJ proposal for merged weekend celebration of emancipendence.
All of those are very specific dates that we should not lose sight of in the name of productivity.
That's Chief Justice Brian Sykes. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Robian Williams.
You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app, available on the Google Play and the App Store. News next, the headlines at 6.
Drive Hyundai. Hyundai vehicles beyond your dreams with an exclusive 4.99% interest rate. Yes! Shop Hyundai vehicles and get a super low 4.99% interest rate on your car loan. Plus 2 years free service, 1 year insurance, and 5 years warranty. Offer valid on all 2024 Hyundai vehicles. Drive your Hyundai with the lowest interest, 4.99%. Conditions apply.
Make lasting impressions. Register now for the Make Your Mark Business and Personal Etiquette Conference set for October 30 at the Jamaica Pegasus. Sponsored by Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Monographic Printers, JPS, Nationwide News Network, Supply County, Jamaica Boilers Group, From Thought to Finish, Intelligent Multimedia Limited, Visual Tech Solutions, the Jamaica Observer, and Main Event Group. Come make your mark and attend the Business and Personal Etiquette Conference October 30. Call 876-978-6001 or visit www.makeyourmarkgroup.com now to register.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Defending champions Cavalier, they have taken sole leadership of the Ray and Nephew Jamaica Premier League following a commanding 4-1 victory over Dunby Holden at Sabina Park a short while ago. Dunby Holden took the lead with 5 minutes on the clock through Daisha Neal Russell. However, Shaquille Steen drew Cavalier level 28 minutes later. Christopher Ainsworth made it 2-1 on the stroke of halftime before Jalmara Calvin scored the third on minute 53. O'Dane Wilberforce then applied the gloss with the fourth on 83 minutes. Kylie Overy missed a penalty for Cavalier. Cavalier, they have moved to 10 points, a 3 clear of Portmore United. Meanwhile, Mount Pleasant Academy and Racing are goalless at sports time after 15-20 minutes in the first game of a doubleheader at the Mobay Sports Complex in Catherine Hall. The feature game tonight at 7 will see Montego Bay United battling Arnett Gardens. National Senior Football Team coach Steve McLaren is urging the fans to be out in their numbers on Monday, October 14, when the team takes on Honduras in a crucial CONCACAF Nations League game at the National Stadium. The game will be the second in a two-game series for the October cycle. It will follow the away fixture to Nicaragua in Managua on Thursday. McLaren has already taken charge of 2 games since becoming the latest national coach, and he would like to see a repeat of the support in his first game in charge against Cuba, or even better.
I hope they continue to support the team like they did, to play the music, to beat the drums, and to give the team energy when it needs energy. So I was really pleased with that.
McLaren says several areas of weaknesses were highlighted in the September round of matches.
I think progressing in the build-up was good, but progression into the middle third and the final third, I think that needs to improve. I think in the final third, we did create 27 chances against Cuba. Very, very good opportunities. And if we'd have won that game 1-0, 2-0, we'd have been satisfied with the 3 points and also the chances created and the play that was. But I still think in the final third, we can be better.
National Senior Football Team coach Steve McLaren. West Indies spinner Afi Fletcher says following the heavy 10-wicket defeat to South Africa in their opening game at the ICC T20 World Cup, the players came together and vowed to play their strongest cricket going forward. She said that manifested itself in their thumping victory over Scotland by 6 wickets with 50 balls to spare in the UAE yesterday. Fletcher says they had to show that they are serious about the tournament.
After the first loss, it was a bit down, but from the night itself, we pick ourselves up, we get together and motivate each other and pick ourselves up and say, look, we're here not just to come on a joyride or anything, but we're here for business, we're here to play hard and tough cricket. So, we just gather ourselves together and gather our thoughts and see how best we could bring our best games from today go back into the other games.
Fletcher says it's important that they represent the region with pride every time they step on the field.
It's always a joy, always overwhelming whenever you put on this uniform and you know that you're representing a whole set of people, different regions, different nation, different culture. But to see that when you step on the field together, to bring different nations and different teams together, it's just a joy to see that we come from different nations and we come together and we play as a team just for the people. And to know that they enjoy it, and we put smile on the face. I know it's always a joyful moment, a tearful moment most times.
West Indies spinner Afi Fletcher and the Caribbean women's next game will be against Bangladesh, and that will come up on Thursday. Guyana was announced as the inaugural host of the Global Super League T20 competition from November 26 to December 7. The announcement was made by the CPL in a statement on Sunday. The event will feature 5 teams from 5 different countries competing for a prize fund of US $1 million. Last year's CPL champion Guyana Amazon Warriors will represent the Caribbean in the 5-team tournament. The other 4 teams are yet to be announced. The tournament will mark South America's first standalone cricket event and is sanctioned by Cricket West Indies and supported by the governing body for cricket in Guyana. In fact, the government of Guyana. The competition will consist of a mini-league format with 11 games. Each team will play 4 matches with the top 2 advancing to the final. All games will be played at the Guyana National Stadium in Providence. The event is poised to become an annual fixture with different teams invited for each season. Multiple world and Olympic medalist Veronica Campbell-Brown says she learned a lot from winning bronze in the 100 meters at the Athens World Championships, in fact the Athens Olympic Games in 2004. The now-retired sprinter went on to win gold in the 200 meters and helped Jamaica win gold in the 4x100 meters at the same games. Speaking on Let's Talk, Campbell-Brown says inexperience may have cost her a more valuable medal at those games.
That was a very interesting race. Nesco Ranko won that race, and I remember racing early semifinals and realized that was a big mistake. So that's one thing I learned. The objective is to get to the finals, which luckily I did, and I made the podium, so it was a blessing. But that was a great start to the Athens Olympic Games, and then it ended beautifully with Aileen Sharon, Kenya, and myself securing the gold medal for Jamaica in the 4x1.
Yeah, that's Veronica Campbell-Brown. You remember Nesterenko? Yeah, she broke 11 seconds for all 4 rounds on her way to winning the gold. It's never happened at the Olympic Games before. And finally, in sports at this time, former World Under-20 athletics champion Kipyegon Bett has died, aged 27, in Bomet, Kenya, following a short illness. The 800-meter specialist won his junior world title in 2016 in Bydgoszcz, Poland, and then he took bronze at the Senior World Championships in London a year later. However, his career was halted in 2018 when he was handed a 4-year doping ban, and he struggled on his return, complaining of stomach pains for about a month. The doctor said he had a liver problem and had been in and out of hospital. Athletics Kenya official Barnaby Korir described Brett as one of the most talented half-milers in the world and a polite, easygoing and extremely amiable athlete. Bett was one of Kenya's high-profile athletes sanctioned for anti-doping violations by the Athletics Integrity Unit, AIU. The runner was suspended in August 2018 for refusing to submit a sample, and he subsequently tested positive for erythropoietin, EPO. Kiru, a 3,000-meter steeplechase runner who won Commonwealth gold in 2014, said being absent from the track had an adverse effect on Bett, who was 20 at the time of his suspension. And that will do it for sports. We're going to be back though at 6:05 with lots more.
Since 2016, 156,000 more Jamaicans are working. This is more than any other time in our history. Your government is caring for you. The time brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister is
5:31.
Want to start investing in stocks but don't know how? Then the JMMB Income and Growth Fund could fit your future best with returns that outperform inflation and tax-free advantages. Visit jm.jmmb.com to get started with as little as $5,000. Conditions apply.
This is a public service announcement from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. The Ministry of Health and Wellness wishes to advise awardees of the Dr. Barrington Waite Memorial Scholarship Program that the deadline to complete their bonding agreement has been extended to Friday, October 18, 2024. Awardees who face challenges with meeting the requirements of their bonding agreement are encouraged to call the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service at 876-922-8600 or visit the office at 30 National Hero Circle, Kingston 4. They can also send an email to collet.mccausland@mof.gov.jm. That was a public service announcement from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies including plugs, switches, panel boards and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
New World Home Improvement and Detail Cleaning offers high-quality detail cleaning and home improvement services. They cater to residential and commercial properties. They clean from the ceiling to the floor. They clean sofas, mattresses, carpets, and chairs. They deep clean and restore all floors. They repair and restore roofing. They do tiling, general paintings, drywall works, and other carpentry services to include property renovation. Call them 876-384-9313. Follow them at New World Detail Cleaning and Home Improvement.
You good, Mark? No, you know, from what day me I have these terrible heartburns. I don't know why. What kind of food you eating? To tell you the truth, you know, I mostly eat fast food. I live alone and I'm too busy for cook my youth. That's your problem. You're eating too much processed food and building up trans fat. Trans fat? What that? Trans fat is a type of fat in a processed foods like fried chicken, fries, donuts, and them things there. So how that cause heartburn? So eating trans fat can cause acid reflux. So if you don't stop eat it or cut back on the amount you eat, things can get worse. Like what? You can get heart attacks,
stroke, type 2 diabetes, or even die.
But fats and oils no important for eat, my youth.
Yes, but the healthy kind in a vegetable aisle, nuts and fish.
Okay, no, me gonna switch up my diet starting today.
Just remember to balance it out with your fresh fruits, vegetables, and ground provision.
A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Cover Story is brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
We've been a part of everyday Jamaican life for over 25 years. From paydays to birthdays, unexpected emergencies to anniversary celebrations, the supermarket checkout line, or paying a bill or taxes on time. Our fast, secure debit network provides reliable service so you can always depend on Multilink. Jamaican and proud, fast, secure, everywhere.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here Nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes.
Good afternoon, listeners. Good afternoon, Cliff. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
Good afternoon, Ricardo.
How are you?
I'm good. Well, in our cover story this afternoon, we're going to begin with the issue concerning unexplained wealth orders. And then in the second half of the cover story, a little piece of financial history was created today with Jamaica securing its first structured securitization transaction in the international capital markets. Going to bring in $500 million into the government coffers. Chartered accountant Dennis Chung will walk us through the significance of that and how it's structured.
But we begin with the Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice, Mikel Jackson. She's calling for an appropriate balance to be found between respecting constitutional rights and the need for the introduction of unexplained wealth orders. Now, those orders would permit law enforcement to seek a judicial declaration which allows them to essentially seize assets where an individual is unable to explain the source of their wealth.
Yes, constitutional rights must always be protected, but as we're so often reminded by various government ministers, these rights are not absolute, so we can't apply that restriction when it suits us. Yes? And I think it's important for people to understand that we don't even know what exactly the constitutional concerns are to date, because we have not gotten a document to say that this is something that the cabinet should really be looking at, to even have something to give feedback on, and that is the challenge.
That's Mikel Jackson, the Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice. She's on the line with us, as well as the Chairman of the organization, Attorney at Law, John Jackson. But before we bring
John
them in...
Clark.
John Clark, sorry, John Jackson. John Clark. We had the National Security Minister speaking to this issue of the constitutional hurdles that will have to be overcome for us to see the introduction of the law or legislation to govern UWOs. Here's what Dr. Chang said this morning.
Laws are not written by ministers of government, and I think you have enough legal training to understand fully. Laws are not written like that, like a letter from the minister. There are processes involved which go beyond legal advice. And ideas put out on unexplained wealth orders are in a number of jurisdictions, including Zimbabwe, Kenya, and UK. The idea seems is of value, then has to be investigated and interrogated and researched by those in policy to see how you can create the policy to satisfy the requirements that you're seeking to get. That research has to proceed over time, and then a appropriate policy developed which will satisfy also the demands of our constitution, which is the supreme instrument of law and country. That may take time, 1 day, 2 days, or 2 years. In fact, in the UK, which has no codified constitution, the expert said to me, look, Minister, don't get too concerned. It takes us 2 years to get a complex law passed in the UK. You have a codified constitution. You have to look at how your capacity can deal with that. Deal with a number of issues. That is just a plain fact. After the policy is developed, it has to go through the Attorney General, legal reform, and its drafters, who now has to go through and see to not only how to draft it, but that in drafting it, that the policy in fact will satisfy the issues raised, the bars raised by the Constitution. In the passing of the Charter of Rights, a very recent legislation, relatively speaking, the protection of the accused was increased. You know, the bar was raised, and government, who would be the accuser, have to prove beyond the shadow of a doubt. In fact, to go behind the Charter of Rights, the fundamental Charter of Rights, such as right to privacy, right not to self-incriminate, right to property. I think the comment that was used by one of our learned judges, one of our outstanding judges, is that ending to breach that must be manifestly justified, which means by the time you go for UWO in our system, you literally have all the required proof you want, and that evidence you wish, and that evidence will be used to continue investigation. So it's not a barrier, but it will be a supplemental effect which may bring you quicker response if the person decides to cooperate. Most of them are going to take you to as far as the Privy Council to in fact protect their right to privacy, property, and not to self-incriminate. Technically, what you're doing in an unexplained wealth order is saying, look, we find that no, we need to know more. You tell me that. I said, no, I don't have to tell you anything.
That's Dr. Horace Chang, the National Security Minister. John Clark, that explanation is persuasive, isn't it?
Good afternoon, John and Mikhail. Welcome.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mikhail. Good afternoon, John. Thank you, Cliff.
Thanks for your invite.
Yes.
Yes, the persuasion by the minister.
Sorry, John, are you on speaker?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Yes, you hear me better now?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yes. The explanation by the minister is an explanation that could equally apply to any bit of law that a government, mindful of its duty to strike the fair balance between competing rights, will have to adhere to. And yes, it is true that the British do not have a written constitution, but they do have the Human Rights Act, which is given just the same credence as our fundamental rights in Jamaica. And even in the UK, they have unexplained wealth orders, and they have created what they deem to be a fair balance between their human rights and the objectives of the unexplained wealth order. And importantly for our own jurisprudence, persons may recall the case that was brought by the Jamaica Bar Association in relation to the restrictions placed on attorneys, Attorney General against the Jamaica Bar Association,
yes,
which resulted in more than 437 pages of writing from all our courts, 150 from the full court, 250 from the Court of Appeal, and 37 from the Privy Council, in which they ultimately held that even though rights may be infringed, it may be necessary for an important objective, and as such, ultimately, demonstrably justifiable and, in fact, not violative of our Constitution.
And just for the benefit of our listeners, that case involved the Jambar was saying that the order might violate attorney-client privilege.
Yes, the poker regime and the duty that attorneys may have to essentially report clients who are suspected of certain things.
But here's my concern, Mikhail, because John speaks to the UK and the lack of the codified constitution, but he says the Human Rights Act has been given, sort of constitutional reverence. But our standard is so high, and our courts have seemed, certainly locally, reluctant to allow the government to trample on individual rights. And we're talking about the right to privacy. The minister talked about the right against self-incrimination. Shouldn't we allow the government enough time to work through the drafting process to make sure what they do lay before the parliament would be sound enough to meet the standard that John says would have to be met?
Ricardo, there are different perspectives from which we can look at it. You mentioned the UK and the fact that they have their Human Rights Act. The basis upon which that particular legislation and even our own constitution has been drafted would have been grounded, for example, in the ICCPR convention to which we're a signatory. So I think the framework that has been established is very clear, that there are certain thresholds that one would have to meet. It's also instructive to note that in the United Kingdom, that once an unexplained wealth order has so been issued, any information that has been gleaned during that process, where a civil proceeding has undertaken, then it can't influence a criminal proceeding. So the concern, for example, about the right not to self-incriminate, one could draw some example from what obtains in the United Kingdom and also what obtains in our neighboring country, Trinidad. So I think the basis of the argument of Jeffrey and others is not to stall the process,
but to use the examples in other jurisdictions to create something that is our own, that balances the framework. The caution or fear or concern that we have, Ricardo, Cliff, and listeners, is that to date, despite two thrown speech making a promise that this is a commitment of the government, despite the government of Jamaica signing a memorandum of understanding with CMOC, that this is our commitment to fighting corruption and crime in this country, we're just hearing at this stage that guess what? These are the constitutional concerns that we have. We don't have anything that has yet been submitted to Cabinet that would influence the framework for legislative drafting for us to even have a dialogue around. And I think if we're talking about rooting out corruption in this country, we can't be stuck at the conversation happening. We have to have dialogue around what the fears of the governments are. I made mention of a mitigation strategy that one could utilize from the United Kingdom. How do we strike the balance by looking at what exists and how to deal with the issue of rights to property, right not to self-incriminate, and so on. It's striking the balance by having the conversation, the government outlining the specific concerns that we have, and then bringing these people to the table.
So, John Clark, I think we're hearing from the government and from the civil society perspective, there is an acceptance that we need to get the balance right. Yes? Given recent experiences with the NIDS, for example, we have to get the balance right. Question for you, John, as the lawyer here. What of the writing of the law? Is it that the government is overstretched, doesn't have the capacity? What is it? Why after 2 years, more than 2 years, of the thrown speeches and the promises made, we're still nowhere near to seeing a draft?
Well, I think that would have to be best answered by the Minister of Justice or the Minister of Legal Affairs.
True.
Because, and it's not only in this area, because one can also think of the SOE and the debate and the promise of an Enhanced Security Measures Act, which was a priority as well. But what it seems to be is that somehow things that the government and the opposition and all well-thinking Jamaicans may say need to be done, that somehow, I don't know what has happened in the office of the Parliamentary Council, but somehow things are taking a little long, too long, some may say, for things to be brought before the Parliament. Because one would thought that the issue that is the Minister essentially spoke about in the clip that he played is an issue that is implicit and immediately have to, and lies at the core of even passing an unexplained wealth order in this country.
Mm-hmm.
So it's something that naturally follows that process. But unfortunately, there's a lot of scholarly articles and experiences from other countries. So it shouldn't take us too long as a nation to deal with these issues and ultimately come to a solution. So one is wondering what is taking so long.
Where else in the Commonwealth Caribbean do we have unexplained wealth orders? I gather the Bahamas. Are you aware?
I think Trinidad as well.
Trinidad, yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh. And what's been their experience? Do you know?
There was a matter, John, I'm not sure if you're aware of the case. There was a 2023 Court of Appeal ruling in Trinidad. The grounds upon which the appeal was filed, however, seemed to be more around some procedural matters. Or some of it would touch on constitutional grounds. What does reasonable suspicion mean and so on. And the government actually won that appeal. So I think we can even look at that particular judgment to see how instructive it can be for Jamaica. Mm-hmm. In the United Kingdom, again, they've had these conversations, and interestingly enough, they're looking at strengthening their framework, not reducing it. So, just to answer the question succinctly, that is there that we can look at.
But there's been light use of the legislation in the UK.
I want to caution us because there's three framework or perspectives from which we can look at unexplained wealth order. Uh-huh. In Jamaica, we already have some elements of it through criminal proceedings under the Corruption Prevention Act, what is commonly now being referred to as illicit enrichment. It's just that the threshold for criminal proceedings would have to be very high. There is also the investigative route that basically gives law enforcement officers certain latitude to act certain questions. For example, if you read through the Integrity Commission's annual report over the years, one of the things that they've come across is that you ask a public official, how did you come about this? It's not in keeping with your lawful earnings. And then the response is that, it was bequeathed to me. Some dead person leave it and give to me. But you can't probe any further. The investigative component of the unexplained wealth order will perhaps push beyond that hurdle. And if it is that you can't give a reasonable explanation, justification, or evidence, then you can have the asset recovery through civil proceedings actually taking place. So it's the latter two that Jamaica has not sufficiently legislated to date. But the criminal component via illicit enrichment in the Corruption Prevention Act is already here in Jamaica.
It's interesting, but we're out of time that you raise the issue of deadlift. Because that is a real one to overcome here in Jamaica, because we know, we have our own practices, peculiar practices, where so somebody I will read and you get something.
But taking a deadlift and leave $40 million under your mattress, so come from somewhere.
No.
And this is why the dialogue is so important. Something needs to be produced so that the dialogue can happen.
Yes. Thank you very much, Michael Jackson, Executive Director of Jamaicans for Justice. Its Chairman and Attorney at Law, John Clark. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
And good afternoon again.
After the break, Chartered Accountant Dennis Chung on that first structured securitization transaction in international financial markets. Today, Jamaica, the Jamaican government, pulling in almost $500 million.
Upgrade your kitchen and bathroom to the next level with Unique Living. They're the ultimate destination for all your kitchen and bathroom needs. From luxurious shower systems to exquisite faucets, vanities, sinks, toilets, closets, and more. They have it all. Visit shop number 6, 30 Dunrobin Avenue, Kingston 10, or call them at 876-755-3661. Elevate your space with Unique Living, where quality meets expectations.
Imagine opening a bank account without ever leaving your home. Well, at CIBC Caribbean, we've changed the game. Open a new CIBC savings or checking account completely online using your computer or phone, anywhere, anytime. No need to visit the bank, no waiting in line. Just apply, verify, and sign your documents, all online. It's secure, seamless, and 100% digital. Open your new CIBC account by applying online today.
Pay nothing down on a shiny, brand new Hyundai vehicle with free loan payments until March 2025. Yes, get a 2024 Hyundai vehicle and get free loan payments until March 2025. 100% financing, 2 years free service, 0 processing fees, and other sweet goodies. Drive into the new year with your new ride. Goodbye, old car. Hello, Hyundai. Hyundai. For free payments promotion. Limited stock available. Offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
Make lasting impressions. Register now for the Make Your Mark Business and Personal Etiquette Conference set for October 30 at the Jamaica Pegasus. Sponsored by Caledonia Outdoor Advertising, Monographic Printers, JPS, Nationwide News Network, Supply County, Jamaica Boilers Group, From Thought to Finish, Intelligent Multimedia Limited, Visual Tech Solutions, the Jamaica Observer, and Main Event Group. Come make your mark and attend the Business and Personal Etiquette Conference October 30. Call 876-978-6001 or visit www.makeyourmarkgroup.com now to register.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Nationwide at 5. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Cliff Hughes.
Now, Jamaica's first structured securitization transaction in international capital markets has earned the government almost $500 million. The announcement was made today by the Ministry of Finance. The transaction involved the securitization of the portion of the Norman Manley International Airport, NMIA, revenue that is due to the government. Norgay Banton reports.
The Ministry of Finance says the securitization of the Norman Manley International Airport NMIA revenue was achieved through the issue of a $480 million 12-year bond by Kingston Airport Revenue Finance Limited. The ministry says Kingston Airport Revenue Finance, also referred to as King Air, is a special purpose vehicle held in trust in the Cayman Islands whose actions are limited to the terms of its debt and which dissolves after it repays its debt. According to the Finance Ministry, the government grants King Air its rights to 52.33% of the revenue generated by NMIA in exchange for the $480 million that was raised through the bond issue. It referred to this arrangement as King Air Rev Share. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says the bond was oversubscribed.
The bond issuance was highly successful, with applications totaling $2.3 billion, representing an oversubscription of over 5 times of the $440 million initially sought. The offer was upsized to $480 million in response to this robust demand. The notes will bear a fixed coupon of 6.75% for 12 years and are rated BB by Standards & Poor's, 1 notch each above the sovereign rating for Jamaica.
Additionally, the notes are the sole obligation of the issuer, Kingston Airport Revenue Finance Limited.
The notes do not represent debt obligations of the government of Jamaica or any of its agencies. Kingston Airport Revenue Finance Limited will also annually distribute to the government of Jamaica any surplus it achieves above established benchmarks. Once the bond is repaid, the full amount of the 52.33% of NMIA revenue will return to the government of Jamaica.
Dr. Clark says the success of this bond demonstrates investors' appetite for Jamaican assets.
The government of Jamaica is very pleased with the demonstrated appetite for investing in Jamaican assets. The government looks forward to now being able to accelerate critical investments in domestic infrastructure while at the same time reducing the national debt burden, even in the context of the adverse travel advisory and hurricane-induced growth shock and the anticipated flat growth this year for the benefit of all Jamaicans.
Nora Gay Banton for Nationwide News.
Thank you, Nora. And returning now to Dennis Chung. Dennis Chung, break this down for Jamaicans. What is it that we have here as a transaction?
Yeah. So I think it's very, very good news. What it is basically receiving money up front. So if I know I have cash flows of $1 million a year for the next 10 years, I'm saying to the persons who bought this bond, by buying this bond, you will give me that $10 million, just to be simple, now, today. And in return for that, I will pay you X percentage per year on it. And then, so what they will do, the persons who actually buy the bond, they will receive the percentage return. It's like putting money away in a savings account for 10 years, and then at the end of the 10 years, they'll get the money paid for them. So it works for the benefit of both parties, because the person who is buying the bond actually gets to put the money down on a secure investment, basically, because we expect that the NMIA will continue to earn even more money going into the future. They receive a relatively good interest rate, 6.75% per annum on US dollars. And as the government, we get that money up front. And we can say, okay, we have this money now, and we have it in a lump sum rather than $1 million a year. And we basically want to use that money now to invest it in the infrastructure and things that can change the fortune of the country. So it's like winning the lotto. If you win the lotto, and the lotto says, I will pay you $10 per year, or I will pay you $90 right now for the next 10 to cover the 10-year period. So that's basically what it is. So I think it's a very good transaction for the government.
The other element we should point out, this does not add to the country's stock of debt, does it?
Right. Yeah, and that is a very important consideration. So it's not adding to our debt stock as a country because it is not something that's guaranteed by the government of Jamaica. It's actually revenue flows that are coming in. So the guarantee for it is actually by this company, King Air, which was a company formed to collect the money from the NMIA. So it was a well thought out transaction, and I think a very good transaction for the country. The biggest risk to it, and we must be cognizant of it, is that the money is not used properly, and therefore we use all the future money now, and there's no benefit to it. So that in 10 years' time, we don't see the benefit of it, but we still have to pay back the money. Just like when we ran up our debt to 150-60%, and we didn't really see anything for the debt that we got because we use it mostly in recurring. So we as a country need to hold the government to account to say, how are you going to use that money? But I mean, apart from that, I see nothing else wrong with the transaction.
Dennis, this is our first such transaction. Are these transactions usual for small island developing countries?
No, I don't think for small island developing countries they're usual. I mean, when you get debt, normally what small island developing countries get is debt that you have to pay back. Debt is really a mortgage on your future income. In this case, what we've done is securitize a future cash flow that we expect. When you normally get debt, it's not tied to anything, right? More than saying, well, you have to pay us back X money. This now is tying it specifically to an asset or a revenue. So in some way, it's the same thing, but the way this was structured is different. This one, as Cliff also just said, very importantly, does not add to the debt stock. So we'll see the debt to GDP ratio keep coming down because of this, but we'll still have the money. And that's why I say it was a well thought out transaction to do it like this.
Yeah, one of Nigel's parting gifts. Thank you very much, Dennis Chung.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, Dennis.
Good.
I want to ask the producer for just a minute. Just a minute more, Madam Producer.
Very important
because
matters.
I think this is important. Listeners, Cliff, I've seen a video being circulated.
We have seen.
Okay. I didn't know that you had seen it.
Yes.
Okay. We have seen a video being circulated which the video attacks names our colleagues at the Jamaica Gleno and makes allegations that are certainly defamatory, if not true.
And damaging. Very damaging.
And dangerous.
Dangerous to the point where they are exposing those named journalists to the fanatics, the zealots, the partisans out there to do them serious physical harm.
Yes. And I think as a media house that's been attacked, shot at, maligned,
having to get police security.
Absolutely. And our colleagues here sometimes being afraid. I just want to condemn that kind of behavior. And just to say that an attack on any journalist, anywhere, is an attack on all of us. This kind of thing should not be normalized, and it should be rejected and condemned. The Press Association should issue a statement condemning the attack on the journalists at the Jamaica Gleno.
Not only the Press Association, the Media Association of Jamaica should also be heard on this. Listeners, viewers, when you see the video, it is frightening. And it is also devastating because it has some kernels of truth to it, yes? But certainly, naming journalists and accusing them of the things that are contained in that video is simply vile.
Yes.
Vile and dangerous, yes? And as Ricardo said, we, yes, know what it is to be at the other end where people, for whatever reason, political in the main, decide to attack. We have seen in this country where journalists have been beaten in the past. We don't want to go back there. We are still, 10, 11 months away from a general election?
And that's why it's so important
exactly
that we push back against this kind of thing.
It cannot be allowed to continue and to develop where we allow ourselves to get so rabid, so vile, that you put people's lives at risk. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
That's the cover story. The headlines are next.
Cover story was brought to you by
Multilink. Roll with control. Use Multilink. Safe, fast, and accepted in more locations.
The time brought to you by Guardian Life. Live secure, live easy is
6 minutes after 6.
Nationwide headlines at 6.
Good evening with the headlines at 6. I'm Norige Banton. Jamaica's unemployment rate has fallen as at April compared to the initial rate recorded under the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin's new system. In its latest report, Statin revealed that the country's unemployment rate stood at 4.2% as at April 2024. That's down 1.2 percentage points from the 5.4% recorded in January. Statin says in April 2024, there were 62,800 unemployed persons in the country. Most of those unemployed, 58.1%, were females. That's a rate of 5.3% compared to 3.3% for males. There were also 29,400 unemployed youth between the ages of 15 and 24 years in April 2024. That's a rate of 14.8%. Of that number, 15,100 or 51.4% were males. Statin says across the country, the unemployment rate was lowest in the Greater Kingston metropolitan area at 3.1%. The rates in rural areas and other urban centers were 4.9% and 4.8% respectively. Nationwide News understands that 20 Haitians who landed in Portland on Saturday have been repatriated to their homeland. It's understood the group, which included women and children, were sent back Sunday evening. They were initially being held at the Port Antonio police station. Human rights lawyer and founder of Freedom Imaginaries, Malena Lane, says when she arrived at the station on Sunday, she was barred from speaking with the Haitians.
Up to last night, I was at the Port Antonio police station waiting to hopefully speak with the Haitians as an attorney at law, but my requests were denied. A little after 6 p.m., I saw a convoy of police officers and immigration officials leaving with a large group of persons, which I assumed were the Haitians who recently arrived. And the convoy went to an undisclosed location at the time. And I am now hearing from news reports and news sources that the Haitians were in fact repatriated. I want to emphasize that I told an immigration officer that there was a pending request for access to refugee status determination before the Ministry of National Security. And I also said at the very least, allow me to speak with the women and children. Despite all of those attempts, the Haitians were repatriated without being allowed to access an attorney at law, without being allowed to access the courts.
Ms. Elaine says the government's actions to continue disregarding the Constitution is unacceptable. She's calling on the judiciary, civil society groups and Jamaicans to stand against such actions.
Civil society organizations, justice operators, ordinary citizens in Jamaica, we have to come together and send a strong message, which is that in a democracy governed by the rule of law, we cannot have a category of persons who exist outside of the protective cover of the Constitution. That is repugnant to the concept and the idea of the rule of law, and it is repugnant to who we are as Jamaicans. So I urge the government to end this practice of incommunicado detention, of denying access to attorneys at law, and of refoulement, because this is not who we are as Jamaicans, as I said, and we must uphold the rule of law.
Malena Lane, a human rights lawyer and founder of Freedom Imaginaries. The 22-year-old university student charged with causing death by dangerous driving in relation to a recent double fatality on Washington Boulevard has been offered $3 million bail. He is Toranur McIntosh of Kingston 6. McIntosh was charged for the deaths of 37-year-old Javon Rodney and 50-year-old businessman Mark Garrick. The men were reportedly struck by a motor vehicle after they stopped to render assistance to another motorist. Samoy Campbell is one of the attorneys representing McIntosh.
Yes, he was in fact offered bail in the amount of $3 million. The other conditions were that he is to surrender all travel documents, a stop order was imposed, he is not to drive any motor vehicles, and a curfew order was imposed.
King's Counsel Peter Champagny is also representing McIntosh. McIntosh is to return to court on November 26, rather. The opposition People's National Party is calling on the government to urgently repair a collapsed bridge in the Pedro River. The bridge, which links Clarendon and St. Anne, reportedly collapsed in August following a truck accident. PNP caretaker for Southeast St. Anne, Dr. Kenneth Russell, and caretaker for North Clarendon, Wavell Hines, say the area has been impassable since the collapse, causing significant disruption for local residents. The collapse of the bridge has forced travelers to take a much longer detour via Fort George, Macney, and Tate, resulting in increased transportation costs and extended travel times. Dr. Russell and Wavell Hines is urging the National Works Agency and Member of Parliament Dwight Sibley's to address the issue with urgency. Those were the headlines at 6. I'm Nora Gay. Banton Sports is next.
Looking to add a touch of elegance to your room? The Lighting World by Fosrich is having a massive lighting blowout sale. Get your wall lamps, chandeliers, ceiling lamps, fans, and more at amazingly low prices. Sale begins Sunday, September 29, with up to 50% off selected items. It's the Fosrich Lighting Blowout Sale, September 29. Shop and save only at Fosrich. Open Sundays.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to Sports here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm Wayne Walker. Mount Pleasant Academy were leading Racing 1-0 at sports time in the first game of a Ray and Nephew Premier League doubleheader at the Montego Bay Sports Complex in Catherine Hall. Former captain of Cavalier, Gadale Irvin, so far scored the goal from Mount Pleasant, a direct free kick midway the first half. Well, the start of the second half has been delayed. They're trying to get the light bulbs in the towers at Montego Bay Sports Club to be evenly distributed across the field. Some bulbs are on, some are not, and at the moment the players are just standing on the field looking to get the second half on the way. They've been standing for the last 6 or 7 minutes, yeah? Let's hope they get that out of the way quite quickly and in time before the feature game at 7 o'clock, and that will feature Montego Bay United against Arnett Gardens. Meanwhile, defending champions Cavalier, they have taken sole leadership of the Premier League. They registered a commanding 4-1 victory over Dunbeholden at Sabina Park an hour ago. Dunbeholden took the lead with 5 minutes on the clock through Deshneil Russell. However, Shaquille Stein, he drew Cavalier level at 28 minutes later. Christopher Ainsworth made it 2-1 on the stroke of half-time before Jalmaro Calvin scored the third on minute 53. O'Dane Wilberforce applied the gloss on 83 minutes. Carly Overy missed a penalty for Cavalier. Cavalier, they are now on 10 points, 3 clear of Portmore United. National Senior Football Team coach Steve McLaren is urging the fans to be out in their numbers on Monday, October 14, when the team takes on Honduras in a crucial CONCACAF Nations League encounter at the National Stadium. The game will be the second in a 2-match series for the October cycle. It will follow the away fixture to Nicaragua in Managua on Thursday. McLaren has already taken charge of 2 games since becoming the latest national coach, and he would like to see a repeat of the support in his first game in charge against Cuba, or even better.
I hope they continue to support the team like they did, to play the music, to beat the drums, and to give the team energy when it needs energy. So I was really pleased with that.
And he says several areas of weaknesses were highlighted in the September round of games.
I think progressing in the build-up was good, but progression into the middle third and the final third, I think that needs to improve. I think in the final third, we did create 27 chances against Cuba. Very, very good opportunities. And if we'd have won that game 1-0, 2-0, we'd have been satisfied with the 3 points and also the chances created and the play that was. But I still think in the final third, we can be better.
National Senior Football men's coach Steve McLaren. West Indies spinner Afi Fletcher says following the heavy 10-wicket defeat to South Africa in their opening game at the ICC T20 World Cup, the players came together and vowed to play their strongest cricket going forward. That, she said, manifested itself in their thumping 6-wicket victory over Scotland with 50 balls to spare in the UAE yesterday. Fletcher says they had to show that they are serious about this tournament.
After the first loss, it was a bit down, but from the night itself, we pick ourselves up. You know, we get together and motivate each other and pick ourselves up and say, look, we're here not just to come on a joyride or anything, but we're here for business. We're here to play hard and tough cricket. So, you know, we just gather ourselves together and gather our thoughts and see how best we could bring our best games from today, go back into the other games.
And Fletcher says they are aware that it's very important to represent the region with pride every time they step onto the field.
It's always a joy, always overwhelming whenever you put on this uniform and you know that you're representing a whole set of people, different regions, you know, different nation, different culture. But to see that when you step on the field together, I mean, to bring different nations and different teams together, I mean, it's just a joy to see that we come from different nations and we come together and we play as a team just for the people. And to know that they enjoy it, and you know, we put smile on the face. I know it's always a joyful moment, a tearful moment most times.
Afi Fletcher, the West Indies women's next game will be against Bangladesh on Thursday. Guyana was announced as the inaugural host of the Global Super League T20 competition, November 26 to December 7. The announcement was made by the CPL in a statement on Sunday. The event will feature 5 teams from 5 different countries competing for a prize fund of US $1 million. Last year's CPL champions, the Guyana Amazon Warriors, will represent the Caribbean in the tournament. Multiple world and Olympic medalist Veronica Campbell-Brown says she learned a lot from winning bronze in the 100 meters at the Athens Olympic Games in 2004. The now retired sprinter went on to win gold in the 200 meters and also in the 4x100 meters at the same games. Speaking on Let's Talk, Campbell-Brown says inexperience may have cost her a more valuable medal at those games.
That was a very interesting race. Nescoranco won that race, and I remember racing early semifinals and realized that was a big mistake. So that's one thing I learned. The objective is to get to the finals, which luckily I did, and I made the podium, so it was a blessing. But that was a great start to the Athens Olympic Games, and then it ended beautifully with Aileen Sharon, Kenya, and myself securing the gold medal for Jamaica in the 4x1.
Veronica Campbell-Brown. Finally in sports, former World Under-20 Athletics champion Kip Yegan-Bett has died aged 26 in Bomet, Kenya, following a short illness. The 800-meter specialist won his junior world title in 2016 in Bydgoszcz, Poland, and then took bronze at the Senior World Championships in London a year later. However, his career was halted in 2018 when he was handed a 4-year doping ban and he struggled on his return. Complaining of a stomach pain for about a month, the doctor said he had a liver problem and had been in and out of hospital. Athletics Kenya official Barnaby Correa described Bett as, quote, one of the most talented half-milers in the world and a polite, easygoing and extremely amiable athlete. Bett was one of Kenya's high-profile athletes sanctioned for anti-doping violations by the Athletics Integrity Unit. The runner was suspended in August 2018 for refusing to submit a sample, and he subsequently tested positive for ethiopitanidine, and it's short for EPO. Sports.
For all your scales and food processing equipment, call Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited at 876-968-9612-5. The time by Advanced Scales and Equipment Limited is
6:20.
Are you burning up with this summer heat? The place hot, man. Get cool now with a Hisense air conditioner. I feel good. With advanced energy-saving inverter technology and whisper quiet operation, beat this heat with Hisense. Available at Aliaber Brands Limited, 64 Hagley Park Road, or call 876-676-5951 now.
So good, so good. I got you.
We've been a part of everyday Jamaican life for over 25 years. From paydays to birthdays, unexpected emergencies to anniversary celebrations, the supermarket checkout line, or paying a bill or taxes on time. Our fast, secure debit network provides reliable service so you can always depend on Multilink. Jamaican and proud, fast, secure, everywhere.
Public Opinion is brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Good evening, and welcome to Public Opinion. I'm Robian Williams. It's a Monday evening, the start of a new week. A special good evening to our friends on YouTube. Thank you so much for tuning in, for joining. We invite you to weigh in live in the comment section on today's Public Opinion. And we're talking about something that has been in the news of late. The private sector organization of Jamaica, PSOJ, they are seeking to, provide clarity again to their proposal of shifting Emancipation Day and Independence Day into a single extended weekend holiday. How about that? This amid strong objections from several stakeholders, including former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson, that the proposal will diminish the historical significance of both days. Noting the concerns, President of the PSOJ, Metri Siaga, maintains that the proposition will do no such thing.
The PSOJ values Emancipation Day and Independence Day as two of the most important holidays that we have in Jamaica. And we want to do nothing whatsoever to diminish those holidays, but rather to give people more of an opportunity to celebrate them. And we are proposing that the holidays be celebrated over the weekend so that people will get a long weekend every year on Emancipation and Independence Days. Those holidays would be celebrated on the Monday and the Friday as holidays. We would not be changing the days, or we're not proposing a change of days. All we're proposing is that the holidays be put on the Monday and on the Friday.
Wow, one long extended weekend, indeed. Holiday period. Metro Siaga, their president of the PSOJ, he was speaking to our news center on Sunday. So in public opinion, you know, we like to put things to you to see where your minds are at. We're asking this evening, do you agree with PSOJ's proposal to shift Emancipation Day and Independence Day into an extended weekend holiday? Let's hear the views from you, the people, on our Facebook platform. We'll start there, where Michelle Bernard is saying no. Too much of a long weekend. The country can't afford to shut down for so long. How would it work knowing the date, August 6th, Independence Day, cannot change? Cleveland Richards is saying it's neither here nor there for me. How much of us celebrate Emancipation Day? They mostly celebrate independence. All right, okay. Wesley Cunningham is saying no way. These holidays must be celebrated on the 1st and 6th of August, even if they fall on a Sunday. And that's a conversation I recall having in the newsroom earlier. What if it falls on a Sunday? We would still observe it on a Sunday and get the Monday as the holiday. Michael Henry says, yes, I agree with them. Employees would benefit tremendously. All right, varying views. Shins for Life is saying Jamaica is a whole different place where anything goes and nothing is surprising anymore. Jamaica need a makeover. Okay. Original Boss Lady is saying, no, I don't agree. Kindly tell PSOJ to pick a side and stick to it. Kindly leave with holidays in the same position it is right now. All right. Wait, and giving us a proverb here. No cup, no mash, no coffee, no throw away. All right, that's a new one. I've never heard that one before. Beverly Barrett says, no, let it remain. Natalie Winter says, no, because we might switch until we have no options left. Too much chopping and changing. Okay. Marvin Reed says it makes some sense. However, the dates have two significantly different meanings, and some of the social commentators are pushing the false narrative that this proposal is racially charged to undermine black people. So my conclusion is to leave things as they are. Racially charged. I never heard that one. Barbara, as it relates to this conversation, Barbara Johnson is saying MLK's birth is January 15, but it's observed Monday, the third Monday in January. Therefore, a 3-day weekend. Understand what the PSOJ is saying. I believe it is understood what they're saying. It's just that persons are opposed to it. Christopher Isaac says, as long as workers are still entitled to be paid for the original dates, if they had worked, there should be no loss of pay. Yeah, I can see the concern there, Christopher Isaacs. Can definitely see the concern there. Bad English is saying he doesn't agree because shifting Emancipation Day and Independence Day could diminish their historical significance, leading to a loss of cultural appreciation and reducing opportunities for meaningful reflection on Jamaica's heritage. Now, there are some similarities to the commentators here that we've heard as it relates to the historical significance and what it means, the meaningful reflection. Philip Jackson is saying money is very important, but it must not trump human dignity. Emancipation is, to me, a very important piece of our history that must be preserved and stay as it is. It is very significant. So this proposal to change it is what I call idle dog, worry sheep. Philip Jackson, they're always giving us the proverbs, but I must point out that the president of the PSOJ, he did say earlier that it is in no way, form, or shape to diminish the historical significance of both days. What he's proposing is no way, it won't diminish the historical significance, and that's what they're saying. But on our X platform, I can tell you some of the comments here. Big Bird says, can't change these dates to suit their desires. This is our history and it must not be tampered with. 6164 is asking if we still depend this. Well, yeah. Queens 123 saying no, emancipation is too important to lump with another holiday. August 1 to 6 could be acceptable though. If you're just joining us, we're inside the court of public opinion and we're asking you Do you agree with PSOJ's proposal to shift Emancipation Day and Independence Day into an extended weekend holiday? So we would get the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Okay. All right. Let me see if I can get some more comments here. Isan Richards is saying, not in agreement. The PSOJ needs to go learn their history. Wow. The patriotic number 1 says, no, it should remain as it is. If they want to boost productivity, be creative, implement flexible work schedules, and change opening and closing hours to businesses in both private and public sector. Here's one. Andrea Mack is saying, I agree that this can be considered. The dates and their significance won't change, but the national holiday and celebrations would, so as to not interrupt a work week. For example, holiday Wednesday, then back to work the Thursday, the holiday next Tuesday. It makes sense to just create a long weekend, and that's what the PSOJ is saying. Let's say, for instance, the holiday is on a Monday. We would get the holiday Monday and then come work Tuesday, and then we get our next holiday and then come work. Simo is saying not in agreement with the PSOJ. Let me see if I can get this one. Kwame is saying these dates are non-negotiable. These dates define who we are as Africans in the Caribbean. These dates are tied to the struggle and resilience of the people. While More Than Enough is saying, I quite understand their view, but no. Let me see if I can quickly get some of the comments on our YouTube. Baby Toy is saying history. Our history, leave it alone. And if we want long days, we go apply for leaves. Hey, baby Toy, you're not easy, you know. Okay. All right, let's see if I can get in some more. Fully Disclosed says, I don't understand what the PSOJ is trying to achieve. Well, they did say it in plain and I think simple English, you know. It's not as though they're trying to diminish the historical value to the dates. What they're proposing is that an extended weekend so as to, you know, have the flow of work. Fully Disclosed says, I understand what the PSOJ... Okay. Yes, you understand what the PSOJ is trying to achieve. All right, let me see if I can get in some more. Truth is saying, if we so want to change, why not start from 1 to 6? Yeah? Okay, get what you say. Get the holiday from 1 to 6. Carlene Smith says the suggestion to merge the days. Well, they didn't suggest for us to merge the days. They're kind of staying away from the word merging. That's not what they're proposing in essence. But you're saying that it shows they only value an economic one. The value is an economic one. PSOJ is the leader of the modern... Oh, wow. Okay. All right, Carlene Smith, I take note of your comment there, but I don't think what they're proposing is a merger. They haven't used the word merge in a sense, you know. Maureen Bryan is saying she disagrees totally. Baby Toy says, let it stay, our ancestors dead. For this them just haunted. Okay, all right. A lot of comments coming in. Barbara Ellington says, I disagree. Maureen Bryan, leave our holidays alone. They are most important celebrations. Dennis Barnaby says, that's a popular proverb. Oh, me never know that one, Dennis. No cup, no mash, no coffee, no throw away. Me have to go look up that one. I don't know that one. Proper saying, I totally agree with Metri. I love the idea of our overseas family and friends coming to celebrate over the weekend. And that's one of the points that they made, the PSOJ made. That persons in the diaspora who wants to come and celebrate or history, you know, they're not they can't. That's one of the points the PSOJ made earlier. Errol Morris said, no, leave it alone. Horace McDonald said there's so much thing for PSOJ to take on, like paying people better for the work they do. Leave the holiday alone. Hameen says, not in my cabinet. All right, okay. And Fully Disclosed is saying that it's the same thing. Must be done with Christmas and Boxing Day. I don't know if a whole lot of people would agree with that one. But this is where we agree to disagree right here in the Court of Public Opinion. And that's all the time I have for the feature this evening. But do stay tuned for the Business Report.
Public Opinion was brought to you by Cleasing Industrial Supplies Limited, Industrial Automation and Control Solutions.
Drive the most exciting new vehicles in Jamaica. Schedule your 2024 Ford Ranger pickup or Ford Everest 7-seater SUV test drive now. Call or visit KIG today.
The time by KIG is
6:33. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Nationwide's Business Report. I'm Robianne Williams. Jamaica's unemployment rate has fallen as at April compared to the initial rate recorded under the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin's new system. Now, in its latest report, Statin revealed that the country's unemployment rate stood at 4.2% as at April 2024. That's down 1.2 percentage points from the 5.4% recorded up January. Statin says in April 2024 there were 62,800 unemployed persons in the country. Now, most of those unemployed, 58.1%, were females. Yes? That's a rate of 5.3% compared to 3.3% for males. There were also 29,400 unemployed youth between the ages of 15 and 24 years in April 2024. That's a rate of 14.8%. Further afield, creditors of the collapsed cryptocurrency exchange FTX are poised to receive up to $16.5 billion under a bankruptcy plan approved in the U.S. on Monday. The agreement will put an end to a saga that started when the firm went bankrupt in November 2022, leaving millions of customers around the world without access to their accounts. Now, last year, former boss Sam Bankman-Fried was convicted of stealing customer funds ahead of the collapse and later sentenced to 25 years in prison. The deal will allow former customers to recover a sum worth about 119% of what they had in their accounts at the time of bankruptcy. And finally, in the currency markets, at the close of trading today, it cost 158 Jamaican dollars and 74 cents to buy $1 US, 207 Jamaican dollars and 68 cents to buy £1 British pound, and 117 Jamaican dollars and 11 cents to buy the Canadian dollar. That's the business report. I'm Robianne Williams. Good evening.
Azen Super Center in Midtown Crossroads, a place you've come to know and trust for quality and the best prices. Now, come see our expanded range of products, fine furnishings, kitchenware, your smart TVs, and all things electronics, and the latest in curtains, bed linen, and bathroom accessories. It's the new and expanded Azen Super Center in Midtown Crossroads with convenient, safe, and free parking. Shop with a smile at Azen Super Center.
Does your bra ride up your back? Do your shoulders hurt from carrying the weight of your breasts? These are signs of an ill-fitting bra. When was the last time you were fitted by a bra fit specialist? The bra experts at LaBelle Femme will take care of you. Drop into the store at 53 Lady Musgrave Road, Tuesdays to Saturdays from 10 to 5, and you will see the difference. Or call 876-622-6091.
If it's in the public's interest, it's the nation's business during Nationwide at 5. The nation's business.
Register for one of the premier events of the Chartered Accountants Week 2024, the ICAJ Business Conference. That's right, the conference is set for October 10, 2024 at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel and online.
This year's theme, Reimagining the Future, Integrity, Innovation, and Impact, will provide business and accounting professionals with modern strategies for today's economy. Tune in to Cliff Hughes Online on Nationwide 90 FM from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for key discussions, insightful information on the role of AI in accounting, and more. The broadcast will also feature exclusive interviews and a wealth of knowledge that will showcase ICAJ's leadership in shaping the future of accounting and finance in Jamaica. So, tune in to Cliff Hughes Online for this revolutionary experience on October 10 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. The ICAJ Business Conference is back. Catch all the action at the Jamaica Pegasus online or tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica.
No matter how happy couples are together, sometimes there are plenty of pleasures they can't enjoy together. And there's an agreement that Joe can provide a place and peace of mind that Tom can't make happen. I mean, suppose your partner likes to eat out a lot and you're a homebody. Maybe you'll allow him to link his female foodie friend, What if you're vegan and your partner likes to eat meat? Maybe you'll allow her to link her jerk chicken man sometimes. It might sound crazy to some, but there are couples who allow their partners to step out and find fun and frolic elsewhere. Well, I mean, I know. Join me, Rodney Campbell, every Tuesday from 9 to 10:30 p.m. for Affairs of the Heart, right here on Nationwide 90 FM. This Tuesday's topic, if we said open, that mean not closed. What kind of relationship that?
I'ma leave the door open. I'ma leave the door open.
Affairs of the Heart is brought to you by Supermed Pharmacy. Super happy, super healthy, Supermed. Nation's Business is brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
Good evening, good evening. 20 minutes going up to 7 o'clock. This is Nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Ricardo Brooks.
We're going to turn now to the Reverse Income Tax Credit Initiative. It's off to a strong start, with more than 190,000 approved applications as of today, Monday, October 7 at 8 this morning. The reverse income tax credit will provide a cash payment of $20,000 this financial year to Jamaicans earning $3 million or less annually.
Now, eligible taxpayers will have until January 2, 2025 to apply, with payments expected by March 31 next year. For more information, you can visit the Tax Administration Jamaica's website. That's www.jamaicatax.gov.jm. We have with us now the Chief Corporate Communications Officer at Tax Administration Jamaica, Maris Horton.
Good evening, Maris.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Hughes and Mr. Brooks.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
All right. So give us an update as to where we are, how many applicants you have received, how is the system working? We know there were some glitches early on. How are those going?
Sure. So I could give you that up to, I don't have the breakout, but up to 5 p.m. this afternoon, we would have processed 264,000 applications. I don't have the breakout in terms of the actual how many eligible and so on. Mm-hmm. But suffice to say that up to 3, we would have had, and you mentioned it earlier on, over 190,000. We're about at 200,000 now in terms of those eligible, just about 200,000 eligible, meaning that those have been accepted and the others would have been rejected for one reason or another, mm-hmm. and they would have received a rejection notification.
And what are some of the chief reasons why some of those applications have been rejected?
Well, some of the reasons that you'd have had, well, you know that there are qualifying, there are criteria on which you must meet. The
Right.
first of which is that it must be under $3 million. And let me just add here that is for the year 2023. And I'm saying this because we would have gotten some questions from persons suggesting that it's this year or previous year. It's in relation to year of assessment 2023.
So if you got a salary increase this year that brought you up to $3 million, you wouldn't qualify?
No, you would.
if you're over, it's only related to 2023. So if you were under the 3 million in 2023, year 2023, you would qualify. That's the first thing. So the first thing is under $3 million. Not 3 million, but under. So if you are at 3 million, you don't qualify. It's under 3 million. So let me just say that right off.
Right.
Then there's also the qualifying in terms of whether or not, if it's a self-employed person, their income tax return must have been filed and any payment due must have been made by August 31 of this year. So again, in relation to 2023, but their income tax return, even though the income tax return under normal circumstances is due on March 15, for the purpose of the credit, this was actually extended up to August 31, 2024. So if the return had been submitted by that person by August 31, 2024, and their payment, any amount that they were due to pay, was paid by that period, then that would qualify them. So that's one. So we have persons who are under the 3 million, but when the system does the check, and again here, it's the system that does the checks. So it checks against our databases to see if a return has been submitted, if a payment has been made. If that is the case and it is within the time, then that person would then qualify. And that's one of the cases under which the person would now be eligible. The second scenario would be for employed persons. So you're employed with and this is whether in government or in the private sector, it doesn't matter. For employed persons, and this also relates to persons who are pensioners, but they are on their payroll of their former employees. Then once what we call the employer's annual return has been submitted, again here for year 2023, and it's done by August 31, then these persons would also qualify. In instance of the employed persons, because it's the employers who bear the responsibility to submit that return, we were not even requesting that the payments be made over. What we say is that once the employers have made that return, then their employees would qualify if they are under the $3 million threshold, as well as that return has been submitted by August 31. Then the third category that we're looking at is what we call domestic workers. And these are the persons who would submit a stamp card. In relation to the stamp cards, what we say is that the stamp card is in relation to 2022. And note the difference here now. Stamp card, in respect of persons using the stamp card, this is in relation to year 2022. But again, that the stamp card must have been submitted, as well as the database that we would have gotten from the NIS would be what we would have gotten in relation to up to August 31, 2024. So August 31, just mark that is one of the important criteria that we're looking at. So once that stamp card for 2022 had been submitted, and it is on the NIS's database that we are actually using to validate against by August 31, then these persons would qualify. So those are basically the three sets of persons who would qualify.
If I could...
So what we have been seeing is that we have persons who have applied and their earnings from our system is over $3 million, so that disqualifies them right away.
Right.
We have also seen scenarios where persons have submitted, but in the instance of a self-employed person, their return is either not in or they filed it late. They filed it beyond that August 31 threshold.
Yeah.
So those are some of the scenarios we're seeing.
If I could take
in relation to employed persons, we have also seen in some instances where the employers were tardy in submitting that return. So these are what we are looking at when we say that and the systems do the validation to determine whether or not the person is in fact eligible. So those are what we have been seeing as some of the things. What we have looked at, however, that we are putting in place a team that even though the system may pick up, what we're doing is sampling just to ensure that everything is in place. So we have been doing some sampling just to test, and we have been seeing if we see something that is not in keeping with what is the expectation, then we would make any adjustments. But that's done on a case-by-case basis.
In terms of the breakout, you mentioned that you've so far received applications from both persons employed in the private sector and also in the public sector. Which of those sectors are you seeing the most applications coming from? Do you have that information?
I haven't done that. We haven't done that analysis, but anybody is eligible is the point that I was trying to make.
Yeah, no, I understand. I just wanted to see whether the government workers were faster on the uptake, as opposed to those in the private sector.
How many eligible taxpayers do you have under the criteria? How many eligible do you have?
Oh, eligible that we have had so far?
No. Eligible based on your criteria
that you have
based on the criteria, the expectation is about 540,000 persons.
And you said there are 200 and what?
260 applications so far. So in terms of eligible, we have about 200,000 eligible who have already applied.
I had a caller this morning, Maris, a pensioner, who was complaining that his bank, BNS, was not one of the options for him to put in to get his credit sent to. What's the position with BNS?
Okay, so currently the financial institutions and the remittance services that are part of the pool are based on the persons who have so far signed up. We are still in discussions with Scotiabank in respect of signing them onto the platform. But we didn't want to delay to await them coming on board because there are other options that persons have. So we still expect to get them on board, and we are still in discussions with them.
What are some of the other options available?
Well, some of the other options that persons have, there are other banks that are available as well as remittance services.
Okay, and which of the remittance services can?
Currently, we have on board JN. We also have on board LASCO, and they have a very wide network of entities that persons can collect from.
Mm-hmm. In the case of somebody,
and I just wanted to, if you would permit me, I just want to correct something that you said at the start. The application period actually ends on December 2.
Oh, December 2 this year, not January 2. Okay.
It's December 2 that the application period ends.
So it meant it's still that payments are expected by March 31 next year.
Oh, certainly, because the payments have to be made before the end of the fiscal year.
Okay. Tell me, if there's an elderly person who wants to benefit, they might not have the account infrastructure, and they say, okay, you can send it to my son, my grandson, my granddaughter. Is that permitted?
It's not permitted. What we have asked, and this is to keep the scammers out of the situation.
Yes.
It can be a joint account if it's an account, but if it's a joint account, the applicant's name must be on that account.
Okay.
For a remittance, then the person's name, it has to be sent in the person's name to the remittance company of their choice.
And we know the scammers are looking and trying to lurk. What other preventative measures, if you will, have you in place?
One of the things that we ask persons is that they need to ensure that they are using the correct website. One, our website is a secure site. It's www.jamaicatax.gov.jm. There is a banner ad that is on the site. You click into it, and it will take you to what we call an information hub, which is where you'll have the application link, as well as you can actually track the status of your application. Because once you do that application, there is a confirmation number that you will get once you're eligible, and you can use that to get back on the system and actually track to see what's the status of your application. And based on what we have seen, there are various layers that it will go through, various checks. So the validation through TAJ's system onto the NIS database, that's just one leg of it. There are also other checks that it will go through before it reaches to the payment, to include the Auditor General. And then the payments would be made once all of that is done. And we anticipate that the payments would be done within 4 weeks.
Mary Sutton, how widespread are the complaints that employers have not filed in time, and so some people may have been, left off or not eligible?
We're not seeing a lot of that as yet, but that's possibly because we have not gotten a lot of the applications as yet. But we have not been seeing substantial numbers of that. As I said, there's a team that we're putting together that will be analyzing, doing some more in-depth analysis of some of the reasons for the rejections. And of course, everybody gets whether an acceptance or a rejection, you'll get a notification of that. And I should add here too that we're happy to report that the situations that we had last week into this week, where the SMS, we had some challenges with the SMS. That has been restored. Well, not quite restored, but we have determined with our service providers, their fix has been done. All the tests have been done within our system to ensure that it is working, and that will be turned back on at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. So what we had said to persons who would have preferred using the SMS is just delay, because the period goes up to December 2nd. So persons who would prefer to get their notification via SMS, then that will be turned back on at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow morning.
And this underscores the importance of early filings, doesn't it?
Early filing, yes, and that is exactly one of the what the minister had indicated. File your returns on time. You never know. There are so many benefits that you can gain from being compliant, which is one of the things that we're encouraging persons. And as a matter of fact, in the case of employers, you're filing online, there's actually a direct benefit to you as an employer, because you can enjoy the benefit of what we call the employment tax credit. So we always encourage our employers to file your returns on time, make your payments, your monthly payments on time as well. It's very important, and there's a direct benefit to you. Similarly, for self-employed persons, filing your returns online, it makes it better for you. There are penalties if you are late with your filing. So here it is that you're actually able to enjoy a credit for being on time. So there are benefits. You never know. Even though this is a one-off payment, in terms of the reverse income tax credit, there are other benefits that you can enjoy by being compliant.
Is this the first we're doing a reverse tax credit?
It's the first I can recall, yes.
Oh. All right. Thank you very much.
First I can recall. And just reminding persons that if they have questions within the information hub, we have FAQs available, as well as you can reach out to us, the dedicated toll-free line that we have set up, which is 888-TAX-BACK or 888-829-2225, or email us at taxback@taj.gov.jm, and we'll be happy to assist.
Oh, all right, go slowly for my listeners. Repeat those numbers first, Maris.
Certainly. It's 888-TAX-BACK, which is 888-829-2225. Or email us at taxback@taj.gov.jm, or log on to our website at www.jamaicatax.gov.jm, and there is a information hub. All things reverse income tax credit are there.
Okay. Mary Sutton is Chief Corporate Communications Officer at the Tax Administration, Jamaica TAJ. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. All right, so if you are earning less than $3 million,
$2.999,
right? You should find out whether you meet the other criteria and you're eligible. Get liquor 20 grand. Yeah? And give me and Bugs a small. Right? Yeah?
After the break, a dangerous, potentially catastrophic Hurricane Milton. It is now being described as the most powerful hurricane so far this year, 2024. It's making a beeline for the U.S. state of Florida, the West Coast. We're going to link with Florida to find out how they're preparing for what could be a deadly and devastating hurricane.
Nation's Business was brought to you by BH Paints. Paint it, love it with BH Paints.
The Watchman. Exploring issues shaping our society, government, and business. Provocative, unconventional. Dr. Henley Morgan is The Watchman.
Good evening. Was Vision 2030 Jamaica a farce? The news coming from the Planning Institute of Jamaica, PIOJ, through its program director in charge of Vision 2030, Miss Paisha Bryan, and later confirmed by Prime Minister Andrew Holness, that Jamaica's first strategic plan, which had at its goal achieving first world status by 2030, would miss its self-imposed timeline, hit hard like a punch to the gut. The disappointment is reminiscent of the Economic Growth Council, EGC, chaired by no less a person than the investment and banking guru Michael Lee Chin, which adopted as its slogan 5 in 4. After a couple of years chasing the dream of 5% annual gross domestic product GDP growth of the Jamaican economy within 4 years, that too was abandoned shortly after the 7th quarterly EGC report to the nation on January 23, 2019, when it became clear the target was more aspirational than realistic. Is there a single causative factor one can point to in trying to understand the failure of these and other well-intentioned initiatives to achieve the elusive growth in the Jamaican economy? Writing in the Harvard Business Review, Rosabeth Moss Cantor provided important insight to what may be at the root of Jamaica's perennial failure to achieve significant economic growth. This is her postulation. In the age of globalization, when countries must compete like companies do, there are 3 paths a nation can take to success. A nation can thrive by becoming a world-class center of thinkers, makers, or traders. Jamaica is none of these. By pursuing the misguided policy of being all things to all men, we have become a country of samples, doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that. We have failed to do any single thing so well, or on a scale to create wealth sufficient to satisfy the needs of a demanding populace with first world tastes. According to Chilean development specialist and author Manfred McNeef in his book Human Scale Development, countries and economies like Jamaica are trapped in a crisis of utopia. It's only by growing the economy that we will eventually escape the crisis. To that end, the national industrial policy of the mid-1990s must be revisited within the context of Rosabeth Moss Cantor's dictum that nations which thrive economically do so by becoming world-class centers of thinkers, makers, or traders. Without a properly articulated and consistently pursued growth strategy, Vision 2030 Jamaica was and is indeed a farce. Think on these things.
Produced by Agency for Inner City Renewal, AIR, and recorded in the Jamming Studio Trenchtown, a breath of fresh air bringing change to the inner city.
Imagine opening a bank account without ever leaving your home. Well, at CIBC Caribbean, we've changed the game. Open a new CIBC savings or checking account completely online using your computer or phone anywhere, anytime. No need to visit the bank, no waiting in line. Just apply, verify, and sign your documents all online. It's secure, seamless, and 100% digital. Open your new CIBC account by applying online today.
Time for a new look. And high time to get serious about protecting our home and investment.
It's time to choose BH Paints with over 60 years experience in quality paint finishes. Their products are superior and long-lasting.
Time to check them out.
Ask about BH Paint's 100% acrylic Ultima Plus paint and primer in one. Experience rich colors with advanced UV and mildew-resistant technologies, independently tested by experts. What are you waiting for? Visit a BH Paints Color Center today.
Choose your life insurance coverage, apply, and pay online. Live the e-life with Sagicor Life. The time by Sagicor Life is
4 minutes after 7.
Shop and win a mega kitchen from Megamart. Spend $6,000 or more before GCT at any Megamart location and fill out the entry form provided for a chance to win a brand new stove, fridge, and microwave this Christmas from Appliance Traders Limited. Visit us on social media to win monthly prizes courtesy of Lasco, Grace Foods, and Facey Commodity Company Limited. Promotion runs from September 30 to December 6th. Shop now to win a mega kitchen from Megamart. The best value by far. Conditions apply. Must be 18 years or older to enter. Authorized under Section 58.3 of the Betting, Gaming, and Lotteries Act.
The 5% Club is now taking new members. Sounds exclusive? We don't want it to be. You see, it's made up of less than 5% of women who get screened for breast cancer in our country each year. At Sagicor, we've made it our mission to help to change the statistics. In fact, with 5,000 more women getting screened, we can officially become the 6% Club. And we won't stop there. So please get checked. Early detection saves lives. Go to bit.ly/5% Club JA.
Good evening. It's 5 minutes after 7 o'clock. This is Nationwide at 5. I'm Cliff Hughes.
And I'm Ricardo Brooks. And listeners, a powerful Category 5 hurricane Milton is expected to make landfall in the U.S. state of Florida on Wednesday. The National Hurricane Center says the massive cyclone continues to rapidly strengthen and is now packing sustained winds of 180 miles per hour with stronger gusts.
Well, CNN is reporting that the hurricane warnings have been issued for parts of Florida with impacts likely to start within 48 hours. Storm surge warnings have also been issued for parts of the West Coast. Landfall is expected to occur in Florida Wednesday night, likely somewhere near the Tampa Bay area.
Milton is forecast to weaken a bit ahead of landfall, but will grow larger in size and remain a formidable hurricane at landfall and after. Now, Floridians are being warned to brace for what may be the most catastrophic hurricane of their lifetime.
We're now being joined by Director of the Department of Emergency Management for the Miami-Dade County in the state, Pete Gomez. Good evening, Mr. Gomez.
Good evening.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for being with us. Just about how many Floridians are in the path of this hurricane?
Wow, to give you a complete number, I'd be lying to you, but you figure almost the entire state of Florida is going to be impacted some way by this storm. It's in the millions of people.
And as it is now, the forecast is for Milton to make landfall sometime on Wednesday. Where are you now seeing mandatory evacuation orders being implemented?
Okay, that's a great question. So all of those areas that are going to be impacted, which is basically the west coast of Florida, from the bottom tip of the state, which is that Naples area, a little below Naples, all the way up to past Tampa and the Bend of Florida. All those areas have been given evacuation orders. So we hope that the people take heed and will evacuate accordingly. There's a potential for storm surge areas, like especially Tampa, of up to 15 feet of storm surge. So it's a very dangerous storm that's predicted to make landfall sometime Wednesday evening.
Mm-hmm. Your county of Miami-Dade is one of the most populous. We have a lot of Jamaicans living there. In terms of evacuation routes and people heeding those evacuation warnings, are you seeing that happening?
Well, to tell you the truth, we are fortunate because what we are expected to experience are tropical storm winds in the range of 39 miles per hour to 72 miles per hour, right? We probably won't experience any hurricane force storm wind. So our evacuation orders have been for people living in mobile homes and those that are medically dependent, vulnerable populations. So far, we are very fortunate that we'll probably miss, or the hurricane will miss us, and we won't bear the brunt of the hurricane force winds.
And Pete, tell us, the arrival of Milton will come no more than about 2 weeks, 10 days after Helene passed through Florida. How were the people of your county, the Miami-Dade County, were you spared that as well?
So Helene, again, we missed another big one. We were not very impacted at all. But we did send crews into North Florida, into Asheville, to perform either rescue operations with our urban search and rescue teams, or in support of some of those counties that were stricken to provide relief in their emergency operation centers, or to help with volunteer donations. And we even sent people into the state EOC that has been severely impacted by Helene, because the state EOC is in Tallahassee, and Tallahassee did get a big hit from Helene. So, yeah, a big part of the state is still recovering from Helene, and now they got to prepare for Milton, that's coming right after Helene.
And in terms of your emergency responders being mobilized again to deploy possibly to other parts of the state, are you prepared to do that again?
Yes, we are. So we're fortunate. We have 2 of the 28 national urban search and rescue teams right in Miami-Dade County, and both of those teams have been put on alert. Once we know that Miami-Dade County is not going to be impacted, then we will release them to be able to go and assist with urban search and rescue operations anywhere else in the state of Florida. But not only that, we are standing by, ready to assist with any request that's made. For example, police, fire department assets, water and sewer department assets, solid waste assets, any assistance that is required from Miami-Dade County. The mayor has given us the okay to go ahead and assist anywhere else in the state of Florida where we're needed.
What has the support from the federal government been like in the recovery efforts so far?
Well, the federal government has been outstanding, right? There's been presidential declarations made, so that frees up federal statutes that allows the federal government to come in and assist people with disaster assistance centers and to be able to help in the recovery effort. the recovery effort will free up funds to allow those counties or those local governments that have been impacted to do whatever is necessary to get those counties back to normal operations. And a lot of it is clearing debris. A lot of it might be, providing assistance, individual assistance to the homeowners so they can rebuild their houses, for government to be able to rebuild their facilities, get the streets back up and running, fix bridges, any infrastructure that might have been affected. So the federal government's response has also been phenomenal.
You say phenomenal, but one of your state's most popular residents, he's running for president of the United States, Donald Trump. He's been highly critical of the federal government. He says they're not doing enough, that people on the ground are suffering, that they haven't seen FEMA, that FEMA is redirecting recovery funds to help illegal immigrants. So you're saying he's not telling the truth?
I am going to reserve comment on the ex-president's comments. What I will say is we understand what FEMA is doing, and FEMA has done a phenomenal job in the state of Florida and in North Carolina. I leave politics to politicians. We are just worried about operational decisions and helping all the residents of the state of Florida.
Yeah.
Pete, the best forecast from the weather people, the experts, what is that at this hour? What are we looking at?
I'm sorry, say that question again, the beginning of the question.
The best forecast from your weather experts, the meteorologists, yes. We here in Jamaica, we have a lot of friends and family in Florida. We're watching it very closely. What is the latest that you have had in terms of what is likely to impact Florida?
Understood. So, South Florida, Miami-Dade County, Broward County, it looks like we're going to be spared the brunt of the hit. That doesn't mean that we won't see some tropical force storm winds, but we're not going to see the 8, 9, 10-foot, 15-foot storm surges that are anticipated to hit the west coast of Florida from Naples, Fort Myers, Tampa, Sarasota, and those areas up there. But pretty much the rest of the state of Florida is going to be impacted. We are like one of the few areas in the state of Florida that is going to be spared or projected to be spared. The rest of the state is going to take a hit somehow, some way. And you got to remember, a lot of these counties in the state of Florida just got hit with Helene, so they're still recovering. There's still mounds and mounds and mounds of debris in some areas on the west coast, like Pinellas County, Hillsborough County, Marion County. Those areas still have mounds and mounds of debris and out in the street that hasn't been collected. So that in itself poses hazards because that debris could be stirred up and it becomes projectiles with the kind of winds that are expected with Milton.
Thank you very much, Pete Gomez. He's the director of the Department of Emergency Management for Miami-Dade County in Florida. Thank you so much, Mr. Gomez, and all the best.
Thank you so much, and God bless you guys.
You too.
And
yes.
I saw a few YouTubers who are obviously living in Florida asking us to keep them in our thoughts and in our prayers. Of course, as you said, a lot of Jamaicans living in Florida.
I really fear for the people in the direct path of Milton. Yeah, a Category 5. Yeah, that is just catastrophic. Yeah,
and we have to remember how a lot of homes in the United States are constructed, especially in Florida. So
well, haven't they started to rethink and do that differently after it was in 1992? Hurricane Andrew that flattened Florida. I think they started to reconfigure their housing standards.
But you also have to remember who the governor is now and the stance he has taken on the damage climate change and weather related events can do.
Yeah, but after 92, it was, wow. It's 17 minutes after 7. We're going to take a break now and then come back with your calls.
The numbers 630-9371 to 618-8255. Come tell us what's on your mind.
Charles O'Connor Consulting Network, COCN, is a financial reporting firm that delivers accounting and compliance services on time. Call us today at 876-908-0486-7. Email us at clientservices@cocnjamaica.com or visit our website at www.cocnjamaica.com. COCN, driven by international accounting standards, modern technology and integrity.
Are you ready to turn your sales and marketing skills into high earnings? Nationwide 90 FM is searching for business development executives to build lasting client relationships. If you have experience across all stages of the sales cycle and possess strong communication, negotiation, and time management skills with a proven sales track record, this opportunity is perfect for you. Join our team and work with the top corporate brands, media agencies, and of course, our on-air personalities. Enjoy networking opportunities, professional growth, and competitive commissions. Ready to take the next step? Send your resume to hr@nationwidenewsnetwork.com today.
The 5% Club is now taking new members. Sounds exclusive? We don't want it to be. You see, it's made up of less than 5% of women who get screened for breast cancer in our country each year. At Sagicor, we've made it our mission to help to change the statistics. In fact, with 5,000 more women getting screened, we can officially become the 6% Club. And we won't stop there. So please get checked. Early detection saves lives. Go to bit.ly/5% Club JA.
Register for one of the premier events of the Chartered Accountants Week 2024, the ICAJ Business Conference. That's right, the conference is set for October 10, 2024 at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel and online. This year's theme, Reimagining the Future, Integrity, Innovation and Impact, will provide business and accounting professionals with modern strategies for today's economy. Tune in to Cliff Hughes Online on Nationwide 90 FM from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. for key discussions, insightful information on the role of AI in accounting and more. The broadcast will also feature exclusive interviews and a wealth of knowledge that will showcase ICAJ's leadership in shaping the future of accounting and finance in Jamaica. So, tune in to Cliff Hughes Online for this revolutionary experience on October 10 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. The ICAJ Business Conference is back. Catch all the action at the Jamaica Pegasus online or tune in to Nationwide 90 FM, the new revolution in media. This broadcast is brought to you by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Jamaica.
Good evening. We're taking your calls on 8766-309-371-4 or 618-8255. I gather we have a woman on the line. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, Cliff and Co. How are you?
I'm fine, and you are?
I'm Jan, and I'm well.
You are
Jan.
Jan.
Jan,
No,
Jan.
yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, Jan.
Now, I have two angst. My first one, I'm driving on Washington Boulevard, and when the green light is the brightest light on the road, you know that the lighting system is just off.
Yeah.
And that means that drivers are at risk, pedestrians are at risk. Now, I had like everybody else, JPS sent me a congratulatory note. Your light bill is 10% less than you used the previous month. And then I get a 30% increase for something that I saved. So the irony there is not lost on me. That's one. So for me, JPS needs to do a lot better with the road lighting system. Right? It facilitates criminality when the roads are this dark. It facilitates increased accidents between cars and pedestrians. That needs to be fixed. So that's one. Now the other is I have a child who lives in St. Mary. And the child said to me that she did her CAPE subjects. She didn't do awesomely well, but she got 3 for math, and she got some other subjects. And she now has to do CAPE. But CAPE, as you know, is a 1 sec.
Jan?
She says 1 sec.
Oh, we're on hold. Okay. No, we lost Jan.
Jan, no easy.
No. She said 1 sec. No, but jokes aside, that matter of street lighting, very, very important. Especially that stretch from Raytown behind Manly Meadows.
Yes.
Down by the waterfront.
To Rockford,
Yes.
to the cement company plant.
Cliff, pitch black.
And it's been so for months, more than a year.
It is bad. I was driving the other night and I was saying to myself, no man, some lights are needed here. Pitch black.
JPS need to replace the lights.
Yeah. Carl, good evening.
Ricardo, how you doing, man?
All right, how you do?
Achievement night tonight.
Cliff is with me, not till Cliff evening.
Repeat?
Cliff is here with me, not till Cliff evening.
We can't. We see a Cliff there for Selfish at Single House. We have to tell him.
He just called you old, my boss. He called you old. But yes, achievements. You have achievements.
Good evening.
Good evening, Carl.
They come here and ask me something this evening, saying that if nobody ever get back nothing from government in Jamaica, I'm starting saying I know of that. That never happened a few time.
Income,
the
reverse income tax.
Hello?
The reverse income tax.
Right, so that's why I say maybe Cliff would have known, because Cliff there for a long time. My house, from Selfish a Shingle House.
Yes.
And a Selfish then use Shingle House.
What?
No, my granny uses a Selfish, man.
The box then use a Shingle House.
Oh.
She's saying all for true.
Anyway, Mr. Hughes.
Yes, Carl.
We down to unemployment down to what now? 4%?
4.2.
4.2. When time the Andrew Holness government did take over Jamaica, how much unemployment did they? You can remember?
2016.
I did 24 or 21.
Andrew Holness came in 2016.
Right.
So I can't recall where it was. But it certainly wasn't in single digits. That much I know.
Oh, okay. It did a way up.
Mm-hmm.
So if you look on this now, Ricardo, and then what Mr. Clark, with 5 million United States dollar go come in a coffin of Jamaica because of policy.
500 million.
480 to be precise.
Right, because of proper policy of the Andrew Holness government. So yes, Ricardo, that's an achievement.
Yes, yeah. Sound policy.
Cliff
was giving me a little education on what it means, and I heard from Dennis Chung. Yeah,
so when you look at that, Ricardo, the third term and the third term must be here.
Well, I'm not sure about that one day. I'm with you up to that point. I'm not sure about that one day. I think there's a lot of work to be done.
So,
to
Ricardo, Ricardo, would you have those things in your hand and take it up and give to a blind person for lead figure before they take you away from them?
Here's the thing though, Carl. A lot of Jamaicans who are making up their minds about how they're going to cast that ballot, I fear that these things are not top of their minds. They're still concerned about the issues that they face around the table, when they go to the supermarket, corruption matters, whether they can trust their government.
But Ricardo, you know, say, me no continue to talk about this corruption. Yes.
No, I know we are talking about it, you know.
Right.
People are telling us that this is their concern.
Well,
all right.
Just a moment, Carl, just a moment, because when I make an error and I like to correct it quickly.
Yes.
So I Googled unemployment rate in Jamaica in 2016.
Yes.
8.63%. In 2015, 8.82%. In 2014, 9.05%. So, Carl, we were wrong. It wasn't in double digits.
Fair enough.
8.63%.
And that's why we depend on Mr. Hughes.
No, it has been halved, more than halved, to 4.2%.
Yes.
It has been declined by more than 50%.
Right, because of an excellent policy of the Jamaica Labour Party, no sir?
I mean, well, you have to credit the government.
Yes.
Yes.
But I don't know about excellent. As a teacher, I don't know about excellent.
But remember Cliff Marquardt.
Well, we understand that.
Sometimes we give some perfect scripts, Carl, and he find all kind of problem with it.
Okay. So, Ricardo, as me said to you, Ricardo, you will say then, if people them say around the table, but Ricardo, is policy which continue to carry down things where people can live a better life.
And that is why when you come here, I say to you, don't waste your time attacking Mr. Golding. Use the time to advance what you see as the positives of your government, because that's what's going to be needed. You need to ensure that as many people as possible hear what you think is the good news.
Okay. So tonight, you have something to clap about, Ricardo, of the policy of Nigel Clark and the Jamaica Labour Party.
Which policy?
Something you can clap concerning whatever go flow in a coffin of the Jamaica government.
Not the coffin.
Not the coffin, you know. Trust me, don't sleep the coffin. You see me, I tell you, listen, Carl, the coffers.
What a sleep.
The coffers, yes.
Is that a Freudian?
Carl said the coffin.
The coffers, yes.
Right. So we all have something we can clap about, no, so of the achievement.
Yes, it is something to be commended, yes.
And what me da like to hear you, we last time you say, you know, what me da like to hear you, me da like to hear you have an interview. So long Mr. Julian Robinson is the person who is the shadow minister of finance. Me da like to hear, you know, really interview him one DR one night, ask him some of these questions. If the Jamaica people should make a mistake, and where would him continue of this policy of the government, or him go take a different road? Me da like to hear those questions put to him and hear what is his answer.
But
more than just tell me time come. I mean, hear nothing out the road why time should have come. Me hear a better policy than what is here now. Me only hear say time come.
Well, Carl, I'll tell you this. In terms of the achievements of the Holness administration, yes, it has to be commended. Employment has increased, unemployment decreased, and in terms of today's news, that transaction, the first securitized transaction of Jamaican assets, government of Jamaica assets, and structured in the way it has to bring in $500 million US is about how many billion Jamaican dollars is that?
You ask me to do math?
Yes. Go to the calculator.
Books, why Clifford pressure me?
500
May I do it?
multiply by 155.
Hold on.
500 multiplied by
one big number.
$79 billion. Right? And without adding to the stock of the country's debt, to me is the most significant.
I think 79 billion is, I think a trillion is. Because for 500, how much is it? Wait, what is it? How much is it? 500 or much? Million?
500 billion.
Okay, 79 billion. All right, cool.
Billion.
Cool. No number are big though. All right. Go on, talk to Carl.
So, Carl, yes, the fact that we would have been able to raise in a manner $79 billion, yes, to be used now, to be deployed now, without increasing the stock of debt. The fact that it was structured through King Air, RevShare, that's a company, set up as a special purpose vehicle in the Cayman Islands. Yes? And structured in a way that, listen, $2.3 billion was subscribed. It was oversubscribed. 2.3 billion US dollars. The significance of that is that you have now set a precedence, yes, where whoever comes after Nigel as finance minister may look towards this as a model. Yeah?
Yes.
So I think it is a significant development, yeah, which again is a feather in the cap of the Holness administration and the leadership of Nigel Clark as his finance minister.
And that's the very reason why you hear me ask you, if all of these ideas that are put together, plus even the $20,000, which everywhere you turn here, everybody asks you nowadays, if you don't see your farm yet, it approved yet.
Carl,
Tell me over
Carl lie in lie.
Ricardo. Ricardo.
Yes.
I
will say this, Carl. I know quite a number of people are excited about it. Make Cliff go on and leave you alone.
Ricardo,
I believe you. I believe you, Carl. I believe you.
I was somewhere yesterday and somebody even asked me if me know how to do it, and I tell them that I'm going to check with somebody
yes,
which is inside, which have more power more than me in a community where we live.
Yes.
And I'm going to check with him and get the person to find some time one Saturday evening to get all of those people farm full out. Right? You have to carry out the political work, plus when those things come in, you have to make certain that people get the achievement of the Jamaica Labour Party.
Yes. Yes.
All right, Carl.
Like $20,000, it will help somewhere.
Of course.
Like somebody give you something where you don't have to pay back, that is achievement.
All right, Carl. Good. 25 minutes going up to 8 o'clock.
Strong link in the YouTube chat. Say Ricardo was not the maths brain from primary school. That's true, you know?
Yeah?
What?
You could do arithmetic.
I used to get some beat in a man middle for maths.
Oh, no.
Yeah. The English came naturally.
Yes.
Yeah?
We can hear that.
Thank you. But the number of them?
So you never do mental ability. By that time,
we had GSAT.
Oh, yes. GSAT did
so
not have
to do
mental
the whole heap of
ability.
swatting.
Swatting?
That, I mean,
yes, that's true.
Pepper's a bit more reasoning.
Yeah.
But GSAT
much
was a
less
lot of swatting.
Just regurgitating
information. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of happy they changed that exam.
You know, a time for the common entrance, you had to do a lot of and it has kept me going.
Yeah.
Mental ability.
Yeah, you're not so bad. Panda. Cleveland?
Yes, sir. Mr. Hughes and Mr. Ricardo.
Good evening, Cleveland.
Good evening.
This thing sound low, you know.
Yeah? You know, hear it?
No, low, man.
Oh, dear.
Cliff D kind of... Cliff D kind of relaxed back in her chair. That's why.
Anyhow, what did the PSOJ say about the two holidays? Is it that they're going to merge them in one?
No.
Or have about a 2-day thing together?
You're going to have a whole weekend. So one's going to be celebrated on Friday, then you have Saturday, then you have Sunday, and the next one is going to be the Monday. So you'd essentially have 4 days.
Boy, I see the people them are bringing in the color something about this now. And, you know. But anyhow, I think the people them who talk about emancipation, they're not doing enough, you know, to attract people to it.
And to educate people on the significance.
Independence is more popular.
I agree. Yes.
They don't see it that way?
No, I agree with you. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Don't know much about emancipation. So I see some important people talking up now. So they need to do something.
Yes.
To make we pay more attention to it.
Yes.
You see?
That's true. Because on Emancipation Day...
established, and I notice a lot of people, a lot of different things happening in different parishes.
Right.
But I'm not sure it's happening for Emancipation Day.
Yeah, it's a little bit more low-key.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
But what do you think about the PSOJ proposal, though? Would you like the extended weekend?
Yes, but I think people just trying to beat it down in a way. But they can have it in 2 days, and it's still effective. But I don't know. Some people are the same, just wait for a holiday. Just want to get a day, and that's it. But I wouldn't fight it down. I wouldn't do that. I think it needs to look at. But as I say, they have to make Emancipation Day more
prominent.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
There's something about it to make people pay more attention to it. You see? Mr. Hughes.
Yes, sir.
I want to know if I truth. Say, Mr. Query mother died,
Yes.
and at the funeral, the pastor almost cussing out Mr. Holness.
I don't know if the pastor was cussing out Mr. Holness. I don't know. I didn't hear. I only heard an excerpt about a 45-second excerpt, and based on that, I can come to that decision that the pastor was cussing anybody.
Yeah.
The man was quoting his scriptures, and weaving from the scriptures a story about how people live, especially they behave as if they are, in heaven and the high life. Some people, based on what I see being posted, was saying that he was throwing words. Huh?
And figure same that funeral.
Well, I don't know. I can't come to that decision until I hear the man fully. 'Cause what you can't take a snippet and come to a judgment.
Well, that's
on
what's
that.
gone out in the society.
Say he was throwing words and then he dropped down and licking head.
But
Say
if
Duppy
it is
backs
so,
him.
Yes.
Yeah. But I don't know. I didn't hear. I didn't hear it.
This nation too, if it is so.
All right, sir. Okay, good. 21 minutes going up to 8 o'clock. Who's next?
Deacon Espute. Good evening.
Ricardo, Cliff, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Help me to understand this announcement today about the money from the airport authority or the Norman Manley Airport. Am I correct in understanding that it's really our money, the government's money that they would have collected from the airport authority or from the contractors for Norman Manley Airport?
From the who?
What the bond is about is the money that would come to the government from the lease they have or the arrangement they have leasing out NMIA. Isn't that correct?
What I gather is what the government has done based on its projected earnings from the operations of the airport. They have bundled that in a bond, yes, and put it on the market and ask investors to buy the bond at 6.75%, Ricardo, per year over, is it 10 or 12 years? I think it's 12 years, or at 6.75. Yeah, and what it has done by listing it, bundling it into a bond, is to collect now $480 million US.
Right. Instead of later. Right. So it's not a loan because it's our money that we would have got anyway.
So it doesn't add to the stock of debt.
But here we are in October of 24, and there's some expenses that we need to be able to spend on now. So what we're basically doing is putting a future thing. We are getting all the earnings that we're going to earn down the line now, so we can spend it now. And then we will repay the bondholders, because in fact the income from the lease of the airport is guaranteed.
Yes.
There's no, it's really not a risk.
Unless there's some catastrophe like COVID, like COVID,
we will have to pay the bondholders interest.
Yes.
So actually we are losing, because if we didn't pay them the interest, we would get the full amount as time goes by.
No, but there's a time value of money.
Yes, I know. Because there's some big event coming up I suppose, that the government needs to spend money on. I don't know what that could be, Cliff. I don't know if you can think of what it might be. And so, really, this is a very good strategy, I think, that the government has thought of.
Also, Peter.
Of getting millions of dollars now to be able to spend on something that is coming up. I don't know if you can. I have said I don't know what it is. You don't know either.
No.
And I can understand why the government is rejoicing, because here they have now an amount of money that they can spend that they didn't have before. It's their money, of course. We're going to lose, because if we didn't put it in a bond and put it on the market,
but Peter,
we would get back the money.
But Peter, hold on, Peter. You're forgetting something.
Tell me.
Yes, not only the value of money now, but the critical question is going to be, what do you spend this money now, $480 million US dollars,
what you going
on?
to spend it on? But that's what Dennis said, you heard it.
Exactly.
Dennis said,
and if you don't, hold on. If you precisely, so therefore, if you, as in the government, invest in spending this money to make sure that we, the people, or the Jamaica, collectively generate from this $500 million US dollars now a return. I don't know what you're talking about, Peter.
I was about to say, Deacon Esprit seems to be suggesting that they have the money earmarked for a big event.
Yes, that they're going to give it a straight away.
To say we could have, if I go to my employer and say, look, my cash flow needs are a little bit stronger now than I can afford, advance me my salary for next month so that I can pay it now. But of course, next month I don't get the salary.
But Peter, you're making you're making a big mistake.
What we're doing with this bond is saying to the people, for 12 months we're not going to get the income from the airport.
Peter, it is the critical thing is, what do you use this money to spend on, to invest in?
But with the bauxite sales years ago, we forward sold our bauxite earnings. Michael Manley did that,
but with the greatest of respect, though.
We wasted it.
But the greatest of respect, Peter, cost wholeness, whatever, in terms of fiscal management and prudence, is way, 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 way ahead of Michael Manley.
Well, I think it's the same strategy. I didn't approve when Michael Manley forward sold our bauxite earnings. They forward sold our sugar earnings. What is being done here is they're forward selling.
Well, if they take that
from the Norman Manley International Airport lease,
if they take the $480 million US dollars and run with it and give away, then you are going to be proven correct. If not, you will not be. So that is a critical thing. What you use.
It worries me when I hear that the government has been able to get this cash up front. Rather than rejoice, I really would question them. What are they going to do with it? I mean, you say it's Nigel Clark's parting gift. This is Nigel Clark's indeed parting gift to the government to have this money to be able to spend for some future upcoming event. And I just thought that the listeners should understand that it's not a loan because it's our money.
Yes.
In the end, we're going to lose because
it's not that is not the reason why it's not a loan.
The interest that we will have to pay on it.
Peter, that is not why it's not a loan. What the government has done, they have established a special purpose vehicle domiciled in the Cayman Islands and grant its rights to that company to structure the transaction. This is finance. So therefore, it is not an obligation of the government or people of Jamaica, so to speak. That's the difference.
We will say it's not an obligation.
It's not an obligation because
it's our money that
it is Peter. It is a company. King Rev Air is the name of the company.
Yes. No, I understand that, Cliff. What you're saying is that King Rev, the money, the
asset,
bond,
yes,
the asset is being transferred to this company.
Yes.
which has put the bond on the market. And this company registered in the Cayman Islands, which means it's out of Jamaica's jurisdiction, is going to take this money, which is Jamaica's money, which we would have got from the
revenues.
The revenue. And we are putting it on the market. People basically are forward purchasing the income that we would have got from the airport contract. That will now be domiciled in the Cayman Islands. And everybody is rejoicing. And I'm saying, I'm saying, okay, so this 508 million US will be in the Cayman Islands. And then what? I don't know enough about it to start to rejoice yet. I don't know if you know what is going to.
I don't know why you use the word rejoice. I think
aren't we? I mean, this is what I've been hearing in the news.
No,
this is wonderful news. This is fiscal management.
It is positive news because
and that's not rejoicing.
No, Peter, come on. That's not rejoicing. Rejoice? Come on.
Yeah.
No.
I think it will be for the media, the investigative journalists, to take note.
What I am watching, Peter, and I think you've put your hands on it. What is it we're going to use the 480 million US, 79 approximately 80 billion Jamaican dollars to do?
Right. Agree. That is the question.
Yes.
And of course, we could forward sell all sorts of things, Cliff. The government has.
But if you do that, you're in trouble. That would be fiscally irresponsible.
It's just the same thing.
It is a first deal
multiplied 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 times.
Because as Dennis Chung pointed out, this one is the first of its kind in the history of Jamaica because of how it is structured. Yes?
It seems so. It is structured different to the others.
Yes.
And but it's still a way of getting. I can't call it a slush fund, but getting a forward, getting in advance money that we would have to wait years to get. So now we have it now available to this government now, whereas it would have been available to the government that won the next election. But instead, it's now going to be available to this government. And I think it's very smart. I think it's good strategy. But as I say, I can't rejoice yet until I get an idea of what they're going to use it for.
All right.
Because I correctly say it's not a debt. It has to be paid back. But it's not the government that has to pay it back. It's this Cayman company that has to pay it
King
back.
Rev.
Right. So, but it's the Jamaican people's money.
Ultimately,
that is forward, transferred to this company in Cayman.
And that is why the proceeds will be used to invest in Jamaica for the benefit, I hope, of the Jamaican people, and not be frittered away.
We have to watch that very carefully.
Yes. Thank you, Peter.
Because we don't want an event that it might come up in another few months to fritter away the money.
All right. Thank you.
Well, if the deacon is right, and that turns out to be what either part or the whole of the proceeds are going to be used for, I have a few recommendations. The income tax threshold. Dr. Clark said it would cost about, what, 40 billion? That's what he said, to raise it to about $3 million. That's what he said. I recall. Yeah. That could be one. Yeah. Yeah, no. That could be one. If the deacon is correct, we can start doing some pencils out. Yeah, Mr. Prime Minister, that could be one. I think everybody would welcome that. Yeah. And then you'd still have about 30 to play with. Yeah, so could work. We say we have books. Damien, good evening.
Good evening, Clifton. Good evening,
Good evening.
Yes, I called the other day, Cliff, when Damon Crawford was on, and I expected you as a cricketer, you dropped the ball, man. Because he quoted a number about 20-something billion dollar, and he says a lot of about three things that three things that their administration would have focused on, and they're good stuff. I like them. It's first world country ideas, but I still didn't think that he left the conversation with me not knowing that if the money was for just the lunch or it was for everything, because he just smoothed out the whole thing, And I next time when you got him, just make him iron out these things for me.
Iron out exactly what?
Which one, if the money was for the 20-something billion dollar was for just the lunch meal alone, or it was for, with the after school program and all these other stuff. I didn't get that from him.
Okay.
He didn't fine tune it. He just quoted a large sum of money, and he just bundled up everything in it. And I left wondering if it's the $20 billion was for everything included.
Okay.
So, I would love that. Next thing is the money that you guys were just talking about. Is it the same money that when the budget read, they didn't disclose that they was going to get some money? That, they were saying about a couple billions of dollars was, he didn't say where he would have got those money from.
You mean when the PMP was saying that the minister hadn't carefully explained how he was going to fund some things?
Yes. I'm wondering if it's that they reveal now that where he's going to plug the budget from.
Questions to be put to Dr. Clark.
Yes. And
I will try and remember.
I vaguely remember that there was an issue Julian Robinson had, but I need to double check what exactly the issue was.
Yeah, and I can tell you now. Hold on, sir. I can tell the listeners now. We are scheduled to be joined by Dr. Clark next week, Wednesday morning, on Cliff Hughes Online at 10 o'clock. He'll be here.
That's what, the 16th?
The 16th of October, next week, Wednesday morning. Yes? And I'll try to remember to ask him that question, sir.
Good, thanks. And in the case of JFJ, and I was listening to the program this evening, and it seems as if they are anti-government, or, the culture of, like, Babylon system, and, informer must dead, and it seems as if they are that about government. Because here,
why do you say that?
Horace Chan said, that the laws has nothing to do with him, and it's as if she wants, to blame the man same way as if he's going to take up
No, I don't think that's fair. No, man. She was simply saying that if there are problems that the government or hurdles the government, has faced, then they need to communicate what those hurdles are so that the society can engage in a debate about how best to clear those hurdles. Because as Cliff said when we were wrapping up, both civil society groups and the government seem to agree that the unexplained wealth order is needed. They agree on that,
Yeah, I agree.
The question now is how to move
up in constitutional hurdles.
Right.
And as he explained, I could understand that the slow bureaucracy of government is one that is holding up. But she's adamant that it's 2 years now and throwing speech, and is as if he should just, roll heads and get this thing going. And they have. He's saying that it's
to be fair to Mikkel, there are, I suppose the reason why the criticism is so strident is because there are other significant proposals that were made in the throne speech that we're waiting further word on. For example, the Enhanced Security Measures Bill. Haven't heard anything more on that. So I suppose the civil society groups are saying 2 years is a long time to draft one piece of law. Well, I suppose they said that in the UK.
Well, but I could understand that, but one would understand that the government are to be blamed, not like the politician. But what about the civil servants who are maybe the country doesn't make enough money to hire more civil servants to do the heavy lifting? You know, could that be in consideration? They could take that in consideration. Why just always the government? It seems as if these people do not blame the correct people who to be blamed in order for results to come. It's like they keep on blaming government. Why blaming the prime minister for stuff that, you know, it is the civil servant or the head of the, you know, to carry out these duties?
All right, here you, Damien.
I'm not getting the fact that they're putting the blame at the right people, so you keeping getting the same result.
All right, hear you. Cliff, just before we go, the end of the cover story, we condemned the attacks against our colleagues at the RGR Gleaner Group.
Mhm.
The Press Association has issued a statement. It says the Press Association of Jamaica is deeply concerned about claims made by supporters of the country's two main political parties against journalists and media houses that could have deeper implications for the profession and those who work as media professionals. The concern surrounds claims made in a video circulating online that falsely accuses the chairman of the RGR Gleaner Group of directing editorial policy and links journalists at the Jamaica Gleaner to the People's National Party. There's also the matter of Everald Warmington, JLP MP for St. Catherine Southwestern, insinuation at a party rally recently that the media and the PNP destroyed former JLP leaders Edward Siaga and Bruce Golding, and is also intent on destroying Andrew Holness as well. Other issues causing concern include the recent broadside by People's National Party President Mark Golding at his party's annual conference, where he labeled segments of the profession as JLP-aligned media houses, and attempts by PNP supporters to falsely link the Jamaica Observer Limited's deputy managing director to influencing editorial policy.
And the statement goes on, while we acknowledge the importance of free speech, we cannot tolerate misinformation that undermines the integrity of our profession. The PAJ reaffirms its commitment to promoting ethical journalism, media independence, and transparency. We urge the Jamaica Labour Party to condemn the video and ask its supporters to refrain from spreading harmful misinformation. Likewise, we urge the leadership of the People's National Party to refrain from making statements in the future that can be seen as an attack on the freedom of the press to do its work. We also invite the JLP and the PNP to engage with us in a constructive conversation about the importance of media independence and fact-based reporting. The PAJ stands in solidarity with our colleagues and rejects any attempts to politicize journalism or intimidate media practitioners. The PAJ reminds the public that a free press is essential to holding those in power accountable and ensuring transparency and accountability. We will not stand idly by while our members face harassment, intimidation, or smear campaigns. We urge all Jamaicans to join us in condemning this attack on press freedom and reaffirming our commitment to a free and independent media.
Yeah.
Well, that's a statement from the PAJ. Yes, it is timely, it is necessary, it is needed. Yeah, because that statement, that video, as we said in our cover story, vile and dangerous.
Absolutely.
It is going to put people's lives at risk. All right, that's how we're going to leave it for Nationwide this evening. Thanks to all of our callers, our producer.
Almost said this morning, you know.
No.
Almost.
No.
And you couldn't come back if you didn't say that, you know. You couldn't come back here if you didn't say that.
Thanks to our producer, Sonia Stewart, our technical operator, Andrew Boggs Anderson, and members of the news and production team led by Cara Powell.
Best in the business. Thank you all so much for making Nationwide at 5 possible. Our contributors, our sponsors, and you, our valued listeners. I'm Ricardo Brooks.
And I'm Cliff Hughes, reminding you, take care of your loved one and look out for your neighbor. Good night.
Good night.